We are just doing a quick roll call, and we'll come back to you. Is Angie Pickney on the line?
Yes.
Is you,
Present.
okay, and your principal broker is with you?
Yes.
Right here.
Okay, thank you, guys. We'll come back to you. Danielle Warner. Okay, is your principal broker on the line as well? I think you're muted, Danielle.
Sorry, yes. He was trying to call in. I think he was having some internet issues.
Yeah, Rustin Randall's on, and Danielle's
Okay, thank
broker
you.
here.
Thank you very much. We'll come back to you. Kelly Turner.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to her. Is Mirica Madison here? Myrika? It's okay. Okay. Are you the principal broker? Okay. Okay, thank you. Marquita Starks?
It's me here.
Okay, is your principal broker with you?
I'm here,
Okay, thank you.
Janet DeChora.
Thank you.
And G.
Yes, I was getting to G. Okay, Brian, I'm going to butcher your last name.
Snydenko.
Okay, thank you. Is your principal broker on the line as well?
He is not. I told him to hop on at 8:45.
Okay,
So I will give him a call and make sure he's on.
okay, that sounds good. We'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're missing D.
Yes, Kelly Turner.
Okay,
But I can come back to her.
okay. Is Aaron ready with everything? Okay. All right. We're going to begin this meeting, the October meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission. And at this time, I'll ask our Executive Director, Caitlin Maxwell, if she'll read into the docket the public disclaimer, please.
Notice of the October 13th meeting of the Real Estate Commission, including date, time, and location, has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate website since October 19th, 2021. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Friday, October 7th, 2022. And now for the roll. Commissioner Joe Begley. Commissioner Jeff Diaz.
Here.
Commissioner DJ Ferris.
Here.
Commissioner Steve Gwynn.
Here.
Commissioner John Moffett.
Here.
Commissioner Joan Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stacy Torbett. Here. Commissioner Kathy Tucker. Chair Marcia Franks.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, great, thank you. At this time, I'll ask Ms. Torbett if she would be so kind to lead us in our invocation, and then we will all stand and say the pledge to our flag.
All right, everybody will bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for safe travels and good health for all of us here, and protect us as we travel back home. Bless our efforts and help us honor you with our words and actions. Lead, guide, and direct us in all that we do. Give us wisdom and discernment in the decisions that we make today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Now, if you stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Torbett. And now we're going to go to the agenda. Is there any changes, additions, or edits that we need to make to the agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to amend the agenda to include a nomination for the Bill Toon Award to be inserted after we finish the waiver requests at 9:30.
Okay, that would be fine. Any other changes to the agenda?
I move to approve.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Diaz and a second by
Joan.
Joan. Okay. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That motion carries unanimously. Now we move on to the approval of the minutes. Are there any edits, changes, corrections to the minutes for the August 29th meeting?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gwynn and a second by Mr. Diaz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we're going to move on to our informal appearances. How this is going to work is we will hear first from the applicants, and they can tell us anything that they want us to know about their situation, what brought them here before this commission. And if you can just tell us whatever you want us to know about that. After that, the commissioners will have a chance to ask their questions of the applicant, and then we'll hear from the applicant's principal broker. And anything that the principal broker wants to tell us about how they plan to handle the education or how they know this person. And then the commission will also have chances to ask questions of those principal brokers. And then after that, we'll have a vote if there's a motion. So I guess we will begin with the first one is candidate, and I don't have the first names, but Arrington and principal broker Charles Yates. And Ms. Arrington is here. Where do we want her to come to?
Is your principal broker, is he still stuck in trap? Oh, he's up there, that's right, that's
Up
right.
here, okay. All right, Mr. Arrington, if you'll come to the microphone over here, please.
I can give the commission just a quick overview if you'd
Yes,
like.
yes.
Before you, you have applicant Amy Arrington and her principal broker online, Charles Yates. Ms. Arrington has taken the timeshare salesperson exam, and the firm is Holiday Inn Club Vacations. And a summary of the criminal and disciplinary sanction is theft of property and misdemeanor. And Ms. Arrington's statement and a letter of recommendation can be found on your iPad.
Okay, Ms. Arrington, welcome. Tell us whatever it is that you would like for us to know about what happened, your situation, and what brought you here today, please.
Okay. The charge is from 9 years ago. It was a completely different time in my life. My husband from then passed away in January. So at that point, I decided that I didn't want to continue down the same road. So I wanted to make a change. That's not me anymore. That's not who I am. Never was who I was. There was something completely different going on at that time. It's just not me. And I just want to move forward with my life. I've started over. I'm a lot happier. I'm excited to go to work for the Holiday Inn. That's where I want to be. That's what I want to do. So whatever I need to do to make that happen, I'll do it. And I'll put in the hard work. It doesn't matter. It can't be as hard as what I've already done. So.
Can you tell us what happened?
Okay. I worked for Pilot at the time, and my drug addiction at the time was starting to just take over. I didn't know what to do. I'd tried everything, and nothing was working. So I got the bright, stupid idea that I was just going to leave, but I needed money to do so. I made a really, really bad judgment call, and I was caught less than 24 hours later. I went to jail. I got out of jail. I was supposed to, they gave me a diversion on it, but that's the moment that I just kind of threw my hands up with life. I knew he was going to die anyway, and I knew that my life wasn't going to get easier. It was just going to get harder. So I gave up. I gave up for years. I gave up for 11 and a half years. But then when he died, it was kind of a relief at the same time as it was, feeling your world snatch out from underneath you. So I decided to get clean. I was homeless at the time, alone on the streets of Knoxville in the snow. So I got really angry about everything, and I walked away from everything. I got sober alone. I did not go to rehab. I did not switch to a maintenance drug. I just kicked it cold turkey by myself. 4 days after that decision, I made a phone call to the only person that I knew that would always come, which was my dad. He came and got me, took me to Florida. I stayed in Florida for the 6 months. I came back home July 28th. I will not go near Knoxville unless I absolutely have to. I stay in Sevier County. I don't come here. This is like the third time I've been in Knoxville since I've been home. Knoxville scares me because I don't need to be here. But that being said, that person at that point in time is not who I am. Now when I look in the mirror, I know who this is. I didn't know who that was. And I've done everything that I've been asked to do. My children are in my life again for the first time. I've met a great man for the first time. I'm actually truly happy, and I just want to go forward with my life and put all of that behind me like it never happened. I mean, it's part of who I am. I get that. It did change me. I see things for what they are, but I'm not a thief. I'm not. I went hungry to not steal. I had never stole again after that happened. No, I did not finish my diversion because I was an idiot. But I just want to go forward. And if you'll give me that opportunity, I won't let you down.
Any other questions from the commissioners? I'd like to congratulate you on your sobriety, number one.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, what has gotten you interested in going to a life in real estate?
Well, when I was younger, in my early 20s, I worked for what is now Wyndham, which was Fairfield at the
Okay.
time. So I've done it some, but this particular company, I researched them before I actually agreed to meet with Renee. And I was very pleased on what I read about the company. I love the fact that it's still family operated. And the concept makes sense. You don't have to worry about integrity with this company, I feel like. I feel like if they tell me something, then I can take it to the bank. And this is where I want to be. I did optometry work. I mean, I've got a background in that too. I tried to go back to that, and then I realized that it's not me anymore. That was in that chapter, and
Okay.
that chapter's closed. And this is what I want to do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and now if we could hear from Mr. Charles Yates, who will be her principal broker. Mr. Yates, he's on, okay. If you'll let us know exactly what it is that Ms. Arrington will be doing for you and how you will be overseeing her as her principal broker.
Yes, of course. We've been very much impressed with Amy and her studies. We give them a 2-week, very extensive training class of how we expect things to be done, both ethically and professionally. So we start out with that. She's completed that. She's done all of her studies, and we continue to supervise them for forever. We even have people that come in and shop these folks to make sure they're staying on track and saying things like they're supposed to say, not get sideways and do things they shouldn't do. But we never stop training, and if they don't toe the line, they don't stay with us. But she has impressed us that she wants to do the job correctly, and I feel confident that she will.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from our commissioners?
I would just say thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being here. Hope you can get back to Sevier County as soon as you can.
Yeah, I'm straight to the car, straight there. Straight, I don't even look.
And, yeah, thank you again for sharing.
So would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Diaz and a second by Mr. Moffett. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, and just keep up the good work that you're on the right road for.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. Okay, our next candidate is Angie Pinkney. Is it Pinkney? And Michael Gray is her principal broker.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so Angie, we're going to do the same thing that we did with Ms. Arrington. We'd like for you to tell us whatever it is that you'd like for us to know about your situation, how it happened, and, what you've been doing since.
Sure. Hi, good morning. My name is Angie Pickney. There was a situation, I was cooking, I had invited my daughter over to my residence for dinner. She's 18 years old. She was 18 years old at the time. And while she was there at the house, her behavior became very disrupted and disrespectful at the time. We have a very good relationship now. But during that time, I kind of asked her to leave the house. And when they left the house, I had a small child at the time. I went back into the house, locked the door, and got in bed because I was kind of stressed out from the situation. I did find out months later that they had called an officer over because when I did put her out the house, they were banging on the door to get back into the house, and I didn't want to let them back into the house. And I actually called my sister up to have my sister to pick the kids up. And so 3 months later, I found out that there was an officer call, going back to that, and I was told that there was a questioning. And I'm sorry. Okay. And then when I found that out, I waited until that Friday to contact the precinct because I was interested to contact the precinct and find out who the officer was, and invite him to come to my new location, which by that time I had moved because it had been 3 months since the incident between my daughter and I. We did whatever issues we had the following morning. We had family breakfast and we kind of talked about things, and it was over, which I thought at the time. Well, when the officer came to my new resident, he asked me why didn't I open up the door, and I told him that I was somewhere, and that an officer was at the door until the following day, and I got arrested. He said, well, you're going to have to get arrested, and this was on the Friday. So when I went to the where they arrest you at and take you and all that stuff, the guy told me that I would have to see a judge. With it being a Friday night, that meant that I might spend the weekend there. So that Monday, when I did go before a judge, and the judge asked what happened, I told him what happened. And the judge actually apologized for me being there as long as I had been, and I was released. I found out recently that, that it was written up a certain way and spoken a certain way. Well, I'm here today to move forward from it all. I've made bad decisions. I've made bad choices. I've had a really bad habit of walking away from situations versus expecting them. And I do take ownership for that. But since then, me and my daughter we have mended our relationship. I am now a grandmother. She's now a mother herself, so she understands motherhood a little bit more now. And with her being a mother, our relationship came very, very strong. And even during the time, I've been in real estate for 13 years. I've worked in multiple communities, building communities, and just at this point, wanting to move forward. But that's why we're here today. And that's pretty much what I have. I don't want to get too shucking up because it is like going back there. Since I have really moved forward with my life. I've been in real estate. I have a whole real estate license in Missouri. I've worked with the St. Louis County Board of Elections for the last 8 years. I've managed multiple voting locations for the Board of Elections. I've worked for different political parties for ballots to get different initiatives on the ballot. I've managed those type of offices too. So I've really worked hard to give back to my communities and make a difference in these communities. So I'm here today wanting to Memphis is my hometown. I've lived in Missouri for some time, but Memphis is home for me. And everything I have put in, I wanted to bring it back to Memphis and be a part of helping the communities here in Memphis. But that's why we're here today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have, Ms. Torbett, do you have a question?
So just to be clear, it looks like your charge stems from you just kept your daughter's stuff in your house. Is that what I'm seeing here? Like the larceny is just her stuff was in your house?
Yeah, and I didn't understand that because I had never heard of that terminology. So when it was first brought to me, I told the officer, like, no, I don't play with fire. And he said, no, it's like stealing. Like, no, but yes. But that's what happened. Supposedly, there was a purse left in the house, and that was it. And it was actually my niece's purse, who stays here in Memphis with me. It was her purse. Yeah, she did get a purse the next morning.
Okay, I just was trying to figure out what the actual charge was for. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
So, Ms. Pickney, so this happened in Missouri, correct? This problem that you had?
Yes.
And as a mother of 2 grown daughters, I sympathize with you on this case. Did I see that you were licensed as a realtor in Missouri?
Yeah, I've had my Missouri real estate license since 2019.
Okay, all right. Okay. Any other questions from any of the commissioners? If not, we'll go to her principal broker, Michael Gray. Mr. Gray, if you could tell us, and Mr. Gray, I understand you're a retired police officer?
That is correct, ma'am.
Oh, that's great. You'll be a great principal broker, I know. Okay, tell us what you wanted us to hear about Ms. Pickney, please.
Well, I've known Ms. Pickley for a couple of months, and when I heard her story, as you said, as a 30-year retired Memphis police officer, it was a very familiar story. And these are domestic issues that happens, and with kids, and as you just said, you have a couple of adult daughters, and I have kids, and I've just made the scene on calls like this, and it doesn't define the individual. I was elated that she had been licensed in Missouri for 13 years and still is. And over the last 13 years, I've been involved in property management, the mortgage industry, as well as real estate. And here at Harrington Homes, I'm the principal broker, and I will pledge to make sure that the supervision, the education, the training will be top-notch here at Harrington Homes. I'm also an instructor with the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, so we believe in the education and training of agents, and we weekly have training in our classes, particularly on the rules and regulations and laws governed by TREC as well as our local association. And these incidents happened some time ago, and Ms. Pickley now, she is definitely a contributor of the community. And I'm asking and the commission to grant her Tennessee license so that she can also help to provide these services to the citizens of Memphis and Shelby County.
Okay, great. Any questions from the commissioners? Would anyone like to make a motion? Okay, what is your motion?
To approve Miss Angie Pickney.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Smith and a second by Mr. Ferris to approve Ms. Pickney's application. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Good luck to you, Ms. Pickney. I have to tell you, my mother once told me when I was griping about my two little girls when they were little, she said, you just wait till they're grown and you can't do anything about what they do. So when I read your case, those words came back to me from my mother. So good luck to you, and make your principal broker proud.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you, sir.
All right, now we're going to move on to applicant Danielle Warner and her principal broker Rustin Randall. And do we have both of them?
Danielle,
Hi. I'm
okay,
sorry.
yes, you're on the line, yes,
Yes.
okay. I'll read a quick summary of
Okay.
Ms. Warner's. Before you have applicant Danielle Warner and her principal broker, Rustin Randall. Ms. Warner has taken the Tennessee Affiliate Broker exam. The firm is Main Street Renewal LLC, and a summary of the criminal and disciplinary sanction is theft misdemeanor. Her statement and letter of recommendation can be found in your iPad.
Okay, good morning, Ms. Warner. We're happy to have you here today. If you will do just like the other two before you and give us some idea of why you're here, what happened, and what you've been doing since, we'd appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you. So at the tender age of 23 years old, I was prescribed prescription pain medication in 2006. My story is similar to our first applicant. I then began my 10-year battle with addiction. 2013, I went into Kohl's department store. I saw some items that I wanted to get for myself and my children. I didn't have the money, so I tried to take them. Series of bad decisions, that was one of them. I did go to jail. I completed all my probation and restitution. Proud to say, September 29th of this year, I celebrated 6 years of sobriety. I quit my job of 5 years in logistics to come to Main Street Renewal Property Management because I just wanted to get into giving back to the community and being of service. And I couldn't do that working in logistics, so I pursued a career with them. I studied hard for my test. I have purchased my very first home last year, and I also saw kind of the challenges and things like that when it comes to buying your own home. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to pursue a career in property management and real estate. I've been an active member of AA, and that's my story. That's how I obtained that charge.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from any of the commissioners?
Has she taken the test?
Have you taken the test already?
Yes, ma'am.
And you passed the test, so, okay. All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
So now we'll hear from your principal broker, Rustin Randall. Is he the one that's on the phone line?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Randall, would you tell us about your situation with Ms. Warner, please?
Sure. Yeah, Danielle was hired on toward the end of March of this year. She's been an amazing employee, has grown a lot in the short time she's worked here, very professional, honest, hardworking, and look forward to promoting her if she can get her license, so she can do more of the more than just clerical duties, and really hoping the best for her and her future.
So she has been working for you already since March, you said?
Yes.
And doing only clerical duties?
Yes.
And what type of firm do you have? I see it's Main Street Renewal. Is it a property management company?
Yeah, it's a corporate landlord, so all we do is just management of properties. That it's more of an institutional property management company. We don't do third-party management for individuals and investors. It's more of a corporate environment.
And will Ms. Warner be located in the same city that you're located in?
Yeah, she'll be working in Murfreesboro office, and yeah, we will be working there with our other agents. You know, a lot of us during COVID here work remotely, but that is where she will be working. So.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Gwynn?
Mr. Randall, you're licensed in the state of Tennessee, is that correct?
Sorry, say that again?
You're a licensed principal broker in the state of Tennessee?
Yes.
I'm confused why your headquarters seems to be in Austin, is that right?
Yeah, the primary headquarters is in Austin. I'm also licensed in Texas as well.
What type of properties do you manage? Are they?
They're just single-family residential properties.
Okay. So the kind of duties that she could do if she had her license that she's not able to do now are what?
Well, she'd be able to join the board and list homes. She'd be able to show homes to properties. She'd be able to negotiate leases, engage more in those client-facing activities.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Randall,
Yep.
so you have how do you keep your security deposits?
Our security deposits are held within the the corporate account. It's all. I guess it's all internal within the corporate entity, and we hold those security deposits internally through the corporate structure. It's a limited partnership structure.
So are they held in Texas?
They are held in we have a national banking relationship, so they're held in kind of based out of our Texas operation.
Okay. Any other questions by any of the commissioners? I guess I'm wondering, and this may be a question for our attorneys, if is that we haven't had that come up. Is that proper to hold a security deposit from Tennessee in another state? Is that okay?
I don't see why not.
Okay. Okay. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Tolbert and a second by Mr. Diaz. All those in favor of the motion to approve this applicant, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Warner, and also congratulations on your sobriety, too. And I hope you have a good future in real estate. And thank you, Mr. Randall, also. Okay, our next applicant, let's see.
Kelly Turner. I don't know if she's on the line or in person now.
Kelly Turner?
She's the one that's stuck in traffic.
No.
No, that's the next one. All right, why don't we, and the next one, Miss Madison is not here yet also, is that right, Mr. Leach? Okay, so let's go on down to 3F, to Starks and Janet DeChara. And Ms. Starks, let's see here.
I can do a.
Okay.
Rustin Randall.
Is now exiting.
Uh-oh.
That was the last one we had. I just wondered if they were both on here. I see Ms. DeChara.
Bond is.
They're both on.
Okay.
I can do a quick summary.
Yes.
Ms. Starks has taken the Tennessee Affiliate Broker exam. Her principal broker is Janet DeChara. The firm is ERR Professional LLC, doing business as Exit Realty Blues City. A summary of the criminal and disciplinary sanction is theft of mail matter by postal employee. A statement and letter recommendation can be found on your iPad.
Okay, Ms. Starks, good morning. We're happy to have you here today. So if you will tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you before the commission today, please.
Okay, so of course my name is Marquita. I am a mother of 3 boys. My first two boys are twins, and I have a younger one that's 5. So what brings me here today is just the opportunity to possibly approve my application to become a broker under Miss Janet. Just to explain my situation during that time, as she stated, I was working for the post office back in, I want to say I started in 2015, but in 2016, I was going through a separation from my husband, and as well as finding out that I was pregnant with another child. So it was around Christmas time, and just dealing with a lot of emotions, a lot of stress, of not really being able to care for my boys the way that I wanted to. I was going through my daily routine one day at work, and of taking the mail to the back for the carrier to pick up in the evening time, wasn't really going to work with the mindset of taking something, but had the mail in my hand and I could tell that something was in it, and made a quick decision to see what it was. And of course it was a gift cards. So I did take those and to help purchase things for my kids at the time. Of course, that was not the best way to go about it. It wasn't a good way to go about it at all, because I do have my mom, and she could have, I'm sure she would have helped me, but I was in a situation where, I guess I was just really angry about my situation, just not happy. So therefore I made a quick decision that I am, paying for even today, not just with, my criminal record, but just, with that thought still, in my mind of, hurting another family, during that time, because, they trust us as mail carriers to, or postal employees to make sure their mail gets to their families, and I broke that trust, and that's something I will always regret. But since that time, I have pursued higher education to pursue my master's in business administration and as well as accounting. I did graduate in 2019, and I started to work for a nonprofit, and I've been working there since 2020. So I've tried to make sure that, I don't put myself in those type of situations again, and to always just be more mindful, of my decisions, because I also want to be examples to my boys. I don't want them to think that it's okay to take from someone. So that's pretty much what I've had going on. I did, probation for 2 years, and I did pay the restitution as well.
So Ms. Starks, this was a federal charge then?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
And was it just one envelope?
It was 2.
Okay, so there were 2 that had gift certificates inside of them. Did it feel like a credit card or something inside of them? Is that what your thought was when you saw them?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Any questions by any of the commissioners? Mr. Gwynn?
How long had you been working for the post office when you made this decision?
I want to say I've been working there a year, but I had actually worked for another location previously, which I had never done that, which was back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. So probably like a total of 2 years with the Postal Service.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, Ms. Torbett?
So have you paid the restitution? Was there a way to pay restitution for this?
Could you just repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Have you made restitution? Have you been able to pay the people back, or were you able to track that down?
Yes, ma'am. I paid them. Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's hear from Ms. DeChara. Janet, hello, good to see you. Janet is a former member of this commission. We're glad to see you, even if it's on TV, Janet.
Hi, Marcia. Good to see you, too. I met Marquita when she came through my pre-licensing class. And when I started talking about the law and talking about probation, Marquita came up to me after class and discussed what she had done and asked me if I felt like she should move forward. And I told her I did. I thought she had done what she should do to make things right, and she, is trying to take care of 3 little boys, so I know it takes extra stuff sometimes. So I was willing to help her. At my office, I'm the principal broker, but I also have another broker trainer, and we do trainings one-on-one. We do group trainings. We have weekend trainings. So if somebody has another job, we try to work around their schedules to give them the training they need. I also go one-on-one with them when they go on their listing presentations and showings until they're comfortable.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? So, Janet, Janet has been an instructor for many years, and you teach at a university. Is that where you met her? Was that the university?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions from anyone? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve this applicant.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Diaz and a second by Mr. Moffitt. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That motion carries unanimously. Ms. Starks, good luck to you, and make your broker proud. She doesn't want to ever have to come up here for any bad reasons, so. Janet, good to see you too.
Thanks, commissioners.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good day.
You too. Okay, so do we want to go to G now, Ms. Maxwell?
Brian, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
And your principal broker is here as well.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Well, a quick summary. The applicant has taken the Tennessee affiliate broker exam. Principal broker Robert Salmon is on the line as well. The firm is Interior Realty LLC. A summary of the criminal and disciplinary sanction is home staging, property management. And a statement and letter recommendation can be found on the iPad.
Okay, you're going to have to pronounce your last name for me again. I'm sorry.
Sure. Snydenko.
Snydenko. Okay. All right. So may I call you Brian?
Yes, you may.
Okay, Brian. That's my daddy's name, so that's an easy one for me. So, Brian, would you please tell us? I know this occurred in Scottsdale, Arizona, and tell us about how you got here. And I'm not sure what the home staging had to do with it, and the property management part is probably what we're more interested in. So, if you could just tell us what you would have us to know about this situation.
Sure. So when I got my license in 2015, I was looking for a second job just as I ramped up my business. I applied for a job that was supposed to be taking pictures for a staging company, and my sole job was to take pictures of interior of homes. And it turns out that the Florida real estate company did not even have a license here in Arizona. And so I was kind of thrown in by guilt by association. So since they were a non-licensed realtor here, they were getting unlicensed activity. And so I was put on probation for 2 years. I had to pay a fine, and everything was complete. Since then, I've got my license in 6 other states and have over 200 transactions since then.
Okay, so your problem was you were residing in Scottsdale but doing work in Florida. Is that correct? Or you were in Florida?
No, that's not correct. No, I was in Arizona, and the real estate company was in Florida, and they were trying to move into the Arizona market.
Okay.
And they put an application here for Arizona realty or real estate, trying to do whatever they're doing with selling their homes. But all I applied for a job was just taking pictures of interior of the homes.
Okay, so you weren't actually involved in property management. You were just taking photographs for a staging company.
That's correct. That was my sole job.
Okay.
I think I took pictures of one house, then the complaint came down, and then they shut down. So we never closed on one. I never received a dime from the company, and then we moved on from there.
So, but to be clear, Brian, you were licensed in Arizona at the time.
I was licensed in Arizona at the time, correct.
Okay. So he was a licensee in Arizona.
This
Okay.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, Ms. Torbett, you have a question?
I'm the public member, so
Yes.
I'm not following this exactly. So I'm just trying to figure out what exactly the problem was.
So he was working, he was a licensee in Scottsdale, Arizona, but he was working for a company in Florida, taking pictures of some staging where they set up the houses. In Arizona. But the Florida company did not have a license in Arizona. Now,
It seems like he should not be the one
Right.
taking the fall for this.
Well, that's not our decision.
I know, but that's why, as a public member here, I'm just having a hard time
Yeah.
figuring out, like,
well, so he was found guilty in Arizona for this because they lumped it in with property management. That's why I was asking in the first part. I wasn't sure what the staging had to do with the property management, because property management does require a license in Scottsdale just as it does in Tennessee. Do you understand now?
I mean,
Clear
I
as mud?
understand. It just
Yeah.
seems a little silly to me, honestly. But
Ms. Torbett is our public member, and she doesn't have a real estate license, so that's why it's confusing to her.
It's confusing to me.
It's confusing, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, he had to come before us because of that.
Right.
Because of the finding
But
against him.
whether we agree with the findings or not, so I'm going to make a motion.
Oh,
Well,
hold
we
on,
can't
hold on.
because we got it, wait, we can't.
Yeah.
because we got it.
We need to hear from his
Ms.
principal broker.
Yeah.
Has anybody got any questions,
I'm okay.
though?
I'm
of the-
okay to forego my turn to talk if you guys want to move straight to a
Hold on
motion.
one second.
Just to be clear, the Arizona Real Estate Commission is the one that disciplined you, correct?
That's correct.
And because we've had this issue before for people doing things in the state of Tennessee, and in this case, I would think they were successful because you had a license in Arizona, yet you were working for a broker who did not have a license. Is that correct? I'm trying to understand how they made
My
this.
license was not being my license wasn't being utilized. My sole job was to take pictures, so I wasn't doing any contracts, any work like that. So, like I said, I kind of got guilt by association with that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I guess they.
The Arizona Real Estate Commission probably just
Lumped him in with the other guy.
threw it in the hopper and it stuck.
Yeah, they probably felt
Whereas-
he was acting as an agent of this unlicensed entity.
Right.
And
not-
especially because he was licensed in Arizona, I would imagine.
So,
But that's second guessing Arizona.
Yeah,
Right. No, I'm not either.
Yeah.
okay.
okay.
Ready for
All right, so let's go ahead and hear from your principal broker, Mr. Salmons, please.
Good morning. So, Mr. Sting is obviously a kind of a victim of an odd situation here. With Intera Realty, we are a multi-state brokerage. I'm the principal broker in multiple states. Like Mr. Sindego said, he's licensed in multiple states. He's been an upstanding member. We serve a institutional buyer, so we won't be engaging in property management and with very little listing activity. We train constantly. I have a compliance team that trains all of our agents. We were all in Houston together last week, and we meet regularly to make sure that our agents are trained. They generally represent one client across these different states where the client wants to purchase, and so this will allow Brian to represent our client in Tennessee as well, and we'll make sure that here at Intera he doesn't fall into the same situation that he fell into there in the past. We'll make sure that we're compliant before he does any activity.
And where's your Tennessee office located?
Our Tennessee, well, so we have we actually have a Tennessee office of record, but currently none of our agents are living in Tennessee, so we don't have a brick and mortar in Tennessee. Our principal office is in Houston, Texas.
There's no requirement to have the, yeah.
Okay, and so are both of you residing though in Scottsdale?
No, I believe now Brian's residing in Arizona still, but I'm living in Houston, Texas.
Okay. Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about how your system works since you're not even in the same states? Just everything is emailed to you, contracts and things like that, and mostly
Right, so
electronically is how you do your business?
We're a technology-enabled brokerage, so our all of our contracts are and we really don't represent that many clients. We represent quite a few deals, but our clients basically buy in multiple states, and so we review those contracts in depth. We have a compliance and legal in-house team that reviews all of the contracts before they go out. And since we only represent buyers in those transactions, there's not a lot of changes to the offers. And then anytime there is an offer or a counter, then those are reviewed by myself and the compliance team.
And do you do both residential and commercial?
No, ma'am. We're single-family residential only.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, Ms. Torbett?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Torbett and a second by Mr. Gwynn. All those in favor of the applicant?
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Good luck to you, sir.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, so, Mr. Leach, did your person come in? Okay, all right, so that must be Miss Madison? Okay, Miss Madison, if you'd like to come up to the, you can come up with her also, so that we can record on the microphone. And Miss Maxwell will tell us a summary of your case.
Okay, before you, you have applicant Myreka Madison and her principal broker, Lewis Lynch. Ms. Madison has not yet taken the Tennessee affiliate broker exam, unless that's changed since we wrote this. The firm is Quality Home Network, LLC, doing business at Century 21 Legacy. The summary is a distribution of an imitation controlled substance. Ms. Madison's statement and letter recommendation can be found on your iPad.
Okay, good morning, Miss Madison.
Good morning.
You would tell us a little bit about what got you here today, what you want us to know about your case, and why you're interested in getting a license, please.
Yes, ma'am. I did, in fact, take my national and state exam since then. I have a criminal background with distribution as a result of a codependency issue that I battled with back in 2013. I was indicted because I traded illegal drugs for my drug of choice, and at that time I was sentenced to a halfway house for rehabilitation. I did serve 10 months there. I returned home and I regained custody of my my child. I left to go into the facility. She was 4 months old, so I came home and I regained custody of my child. I have an older son who's now 21, and as I go forward in life, I just decided that it would be in my best interest to pick a career that would help me provide a stable and secure legacy for my family. I continue to do mental health care through Watauga, and while I was incarcerated and through the halfway house, I've obtained several certificates to show that I no longer have a codependency. I've actually been clean since May 20th, 2013. So I'm here today to pursue my career in real estate because I had prior sales experience, and while incarcerated, just developed a liking for the profession.
How long were you incarcerated?
I initially started in a halfway house. I was indicted the same week I found out I was pregnant, so there was a separate or second indictment that came a year later. Right after I completed the halfway house program, I had to return to the Department of Corrections in Virginia. And I was released on February 29, 2014. I had my probation from that day, from the 29th, or from March 1st when I reported, for 2 years. So I completed probation in 2016.
So the halfway house, was that a rehab center?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It was the Janie Hammett House, which is no longer in effect. All my charges are out of Bristol, Virginia. So my family is from Tennessee. So to stay true to the teachings of removing yourself from people, places, and things, I went back home to Tennessee, and I completed probation for the state of Virginia and Tennessee at the same time. So Virginia restored my rights, and Tennessee just supervised my probation.
Okay, great. Okay, any questions from the commissioners, the applicant?
So just to be clear, you're not under any Department of Corrections supervision now?
No, I just continue with my by mental health. I see a therapist every week. I go in regularly for training on parenting, and I just utilize as many resources that I can to remain sober and continue my journey.
Okay, thank you.
And has your fine been paid, the $2,000?
Yes, ma'am. All fines have been paid. All debts have been made good.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Leach, would you tell us why you're wanting to step forward with this applicant in favor of her?
Absolutely. So, Marika came to our company and talked to several people before she even got to me to sit down. And ever since I have met her, she has done everything that we have asked her to do, everything that you guys have asked her to do, and the state has asked her to do. And I've just been absolutely impressed with everything. Our company is set up with an extensive training program. We have mentors that she'll be working with throughout her transactions, as well as meeting with me and going through training. So we are very well equipped to help her through this next step in her journey. We're excited to do that.
And where are you located?
I'm located in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Okay, okay. And so are you in Johnson City also?
Yes, I live in Jonesboro, which is
Okay.
about 10, 15 minutes
I've
away.
learned all those little cities
Yes.
are all right there
It's all the
together.
same.
Okay, okay. All right. Any questions from anyone on the commission?
So, just one. So it sounds like this is going to be an in-person supervision?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Torbett and a second from Ms. Smith. All those in favor of the applicant, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Congratulations on your sobriety and on making this happen. We're happy for you.
Thank you so much.
It's great when we see people turn their lives around. Okay, let's see here now. Kelly Turner and Steve Black, are they?
I don't think they are present at this time. And unfortunately, we're using Aaron's computer, so I can't really check if he's gotten any additional communication at this time.
Okay.
But
Aaron, excuse me, have you gotten any additional communications from Kelly Turner or Steve Black? Okay, thank you. All right, so I guess we will move on to Mr. Anthony Willoughby.
Mr. Willoughby did reach out to me last night, and he's unable to attend this meeting, and so we will be pushing him to the November agenda.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move to waiver requests. And our first one is Gabrielle Borden.
Yes, and
Maxwell?
I'm going to have to pull that up on here because for some reason our PDF does not like the fillable. If you don't mind, if I can go to the second one first.
Yeah,
Valentine. For some reason, they didn't. The fillable form.
Actually, the Gabrielle Borden didn't. I couldn't get it to pull up last night. So okay, I was.
I have it. I have it on here on Aaron's computer, and so I'll pull it up shortly. But I.
So Miss Valentine is what we're going to do first, then.
Yes, if that's okay.
Okay.
She is an E&O request. She was suspended for E&O in January of 2021, and once you're suspended for a year of E&O, you go into a revoked status, and at that time, the law requires retesting and reapplying, and so this request is a waiver due to the E&O revocation, and her statement can be found on the second page of your request.
Okay, so her statement doesn't mention anything about the E&O suspension. She talks about how she put her, I guess, her license in retirement with a MAR employee.
Yeah, so if you go to the third page, she mentions how she thought she was in retirement until she received the revocation letter.
Okay, so it looked to me like her problem was is she went through the Memphis Association instead of going through Trek. She made the statement, "I could have sworn I made the payment over the phone." I would love to see some evidence that she made the payment, if she in fact did.
We don't accept payments over the phone, so I was unsure about that as well, whether she maybe thought she paid her brokerage, she was then going to pay. I don't know, but we don't, it's a very, very, very rare occurrence for us to accept a payment over the phone. So that's not our process. People have the option to pay online or mail in a check.
So bottom line, you can't retire your license through an association. It has to be tracked, right?
Yes.
Okay,
And this person was licensed when? It doesn't say on our waiver request sheet.
She's been licensed since 11/16/2018.
Oh, so 2018.
So she's only asking to not have to take the exam again?
I believe that's all that she has requested. She
She's still in revoked status then?
Yes.
makes her like a brand new applicant at that point.
Yes. The law goes into once you've been revoked for a year, you then have to retest. I believe you have to meet all education requirements. She's a new enough licensee that she probably has taken the 90 pre-licensing hours. But it also, I think, is $1,000 penalty as well once you're in revoked status.
So does the law even allow us to waive
I
those
can pull it up. It
requirements?
does say,
Our attorney's shaking her head, yes.
So when did she last test, 2018?
correct.
So she had to have renewed one time.
If she's on the state policy, they are every odd year. So 2021, 2019, 2023, we're actually coming up on an E&O policy year.
So she had renewed and knew to renew at least one other time?
I would say yes. I can't say with 100% certainty, only because depending on when she might have bought when she became licensed initially, she might have bought the 2019, 2021 policy. If they start offering that around October of the prior year. So it could be that she never did do an E&O renewal if when she became licensed in November of 2018, she went ahead and bought through 2021. I could actually check that. I can look at that for you right now.
Okay. Any comments or questions by anybody on the commission?
Well, I mean, my question is, what was prompting her to put her license into retirement anyway? I mean, I guess that's immaterial, but her motivation would be interesting to know. Why she thought she could go to her association, I don't know, but. No.
I would just love to have had some proof of that it was paid or not, you know? We have no proof.
So,
Glenn, did you have a?
What's the difference between retirement? I'm not sure I understand. When you retire your license, what is that? Is that just because you're trying to save money on a fee? Or what's the reason for that?
No, retirement, you don't have to have active E&O insurance. You don't keep up with the education requirements. You don't have to have a firm affiliation. You essentially do have to just pay a renewal fee to maintain the retired status. But I think people do it if they do intend to maybe come back to real estate, but maybe they're not currently practicing, but they don't want to have to retest and reapply.
But don't you have to do education?
You do education before you come back if you miss renewal cycles. So sometimes we see people go into retired for like 3 months And so if they never missed any education, they don't have to complete any. But if they missed multiple renewal cycles or even just one renewal cycle, then they do have to complete the 16 hours before they come back to an active status. And they do also have to maintain that retired status, which just means paying for your renewal and renewing your license. But no E&O, no education, no firm affiliation.
So, a retired license, I want to go over this because I ran into a friend of mine who's older than me, and he's got and I was just happened in the last week. I said, "Well, why are you? What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I got my license in retirement." Okay, so, and he said, "I have no intention of ever coming back into real estate." He's totally done. So, I was trying to understand why he did that. So if he changed his mind, okay, let's say he changed his mind, I'm going back into real estate, he's got to do education, but not take the test. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the education is limited to just the 16-hour renewal education.
And usually people have put in so much work to even get their license, they would never want to have to retest again.
Correct.
And, something may happen, they might buy a house and they could pull their license back out and get that,
But to pull
fee.
the license out, they got to still do the education to.
Right. Right, but when you're talking about a commission on say a $500,000 house versus what it costs you to get 16 hours, you'd probably get the 16 hours to get that commission.
Right, right.
That's why a lot of people do it.
So,
I'm just wondering if it doesn't seem to make sense to go in and out. Like, she only had, or he only had her license for a few years versus a quarter of a century or something.
Obviously, this person didn't understand what the rules were.
Right.
And probably should have asked their principal broker.
Right.
Which obviously, there's nothing in here about the principal. It says my broker signed the paperwork.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what paperwork does she have that's, like,
It's
does
a
she
track
have
form.
paperwork that says her license was retired?
So what you use to retire a license is a form that we call a Trek 1. It can allow you to retire your license. It can allow you to switch from another firm.
Change your name.
Change your name. There's a couple different things you can do on there. We do often see where people either think their firm is turning it in for them and they never do, or we see where principal brokers said, I release this agent, or I thought they were transferring, but we obviously can't process something that we never receive.
Yeah.
And we also, even if we did get it and we didn't get the fee associated with it, you have to meet both requirements for it to be processed. But we did not receive the fee to retire or the form.
I'll make a motion that we grant the request to waive the retest, but she still would have to do all of her continuing education, right?
And there still is a revocation fee.
But she didn't ask for that.
No, she didn't.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. So the motion is that we allow this person not to have to test, but would have to do all of the other requirements.
May I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Can you give me the dates one more time when she was licensed?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I'm pulling that up right now. I was going to pull up, I'm going to pull up also
Who seconded that? Was
the
it-
E&O.
it was DJ.
DJ.
Never come up with anything on it when you get them on
And also, has the person already paid the $1,000 penalty? Is everything done except the test?
I mean, it's just bizarre that she would go to the association to retire her license.
I know. Shows how much she knows about real estate law.
Well, again, ask your broker, right?
So she was first licensed 11/16/2018, and it does look like she did she did purchase her original policy and then also the first 19 to 2021 policy.
So do we know that if her policy lapsed before she retired her license?
Well, we never got anything related to the retirement.
And was Mara contacted at all to see if they have any records at all?
We wouldn't do that because the rule requires that it be sent to the commission.
Right.
I'll second.
We have a second.
Oh, we already got a second?
Yeah, DJ seconded it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Do you have a question, Joan?
I did.
So long ago.
I'm working my mind through this just a second, but I think I answered it. So she sent this request on August the 29th of 2022. She took the test. Is that correct? Or is that when we?
The email to Aaron says August 2022.
Okay, I see another one on August the 12th.
And what was the date of her revocation?
There you go.
The date of the revocation would have been January of 2022.
2021. 22 or what?
21 was a suspension, and then once you're suspended for 1 year, it would have, the revocation would have happened in January.
In August.
So she would have received a letter from Trek saying she was suspended.
In January.
Yes.
In January.
Of 2021.
Yes. And then she received a letter from Trek in January of 2022 saying she was revoked.
Yes.
And so she waited till August to say something about it, decide what she's going to do.
It does look like she originally reached out probably when she got the letter, and I can see where we have sent her the penalty and the requirements to become back active. And then August is when we got the official request to waive.
So when we sent the letter, was that in January, February that we sent her a letter with the penalty and the?
Yes.
And so did she pay the penalty?
Let me see.
Because a lot of times we'll get these and everybody's paid up and they've done everything they can and all they lack is this test.
Right.
Well, even if she hasn't paid, though, if we grant this request, I mean, it's not going to be valid until she pays.
We need to add that to the motion.
I don't
is that all
see
right?
the payment.
So she's not paid.
If she has, it's not under her license. I don't think that she has paid.
I'm fine with adding that to the motion, but she didn't ask for it, so I don't know that, do we even have to address it in the motion if she didn't request it? I mean, that would be a whole different.
How do we make sure that she does, though? So she's not going to get a license if we say, if this passes, so then she doesn't have to take the test, but she has to pay.
She has to meet all other requirements of the revocation.
Okay, before you give her a license.
Yes.
Okay.
Good with it.
Okay.
So my motion is just to grant her request of not having to retest.
Okay, and we have a second by Mr. Ferris. All right, are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. And that is, I'm a no, and so 1, 2, 3, 4,
6 to 1.
5 to 2. 5 to 2.
I see. Okay.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to go back to Gabrielle Borden.
And
I got Valentine twice.
Yeah, I did
I'm
too.
gonna-
And nothing on Borden.
It's on our screen.
put it right here because
Here we go.
And on these waiver requests, it would help us if we had the information on their waiver request, like the name, license number, extra, so we would have that and wouldn't have to ask for it during the meeting.
well, yeah, we need to get a new form because it is on there, when we
Just
create
doesn't
it.
upload
Yeah.
But we're using a fillable form, and for some reason, when it's put on the iPads,
Oh,
it
look
clears
at
out
yours.
the
Okay.
fillable.
No.
That's hers, and, okay, no, yeah, we have nothing.
That happens to me too.
Okay.
And so this is
Okay.
how it looks when we create it.
It's on your screen.
And that's how it looks
Yeah.
when y'all send it to us at home. I just don't get it on the iPad.
Do you export it as a PDF exactly like that and then upload it that way?
That's what we do.
And it still doesn't do it?
Yeah. So we need to create a new process.
Can I ask about the process?
Uh-oh.
Sorry. Are these people notified that this is coming before this meeting? And are they given the opportunity to be on video?
We have not gone that route.
Okay.
We have asked just that they submit the request with the letter. These requests have evolved because the rule allows for a medical waiver request if your license is expired due to a medical reason. We have started to, we present any requests that we get to you if somebody asks to be presented. With the E&O penalties and suspensions, we've been asked to present those to the commission. And so we have based this request off of the medical waiver request, which says to submit to the commission a letter and proof of doctor's letter or note. And so that's what we based it off of.
So none of these waivers that are being asked for would be handled internally? All of them would come before the commission?
That's the way that the process has been, and that's been based on the medical waiver rules.
So I would like to ask that in the future, that we have this information, and also, if a letter is required, then they need to send a letter.
Yes.
We need some evidence instead of just, and on
Well-
the medical ones, we usually get a letter and they have it from their doctor also, that it was a valid thing.
The last one, she sent an email. I don't know if you are okay with considering that as the letter, but she didn't have a medical reason. Hers was just a request based
Right.
on process.
Right. I'm okay with the email because it gave us the date that she
Give
sent
me
it.
something in writing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay.
Don't make it a text, but,
Yeah, this one has all of that. Obviously, you did not get it.
oh yeah, we didn't get any of that.
Well, you should have probably gotten the attachments. I don't know what happened on this one, but this is a request for reinstatement and for the E&O fees. So I believe this licensee was suspended for E&O, then went into an expired status, and then now reached out in September,
Over a year later.
right before they hit the 1 year mark.
All right, so their fee request is $1,800.
Correct.
All right, so we're gonna have to have the information. Can you go down on that?
So,
I think we need to read this. What do y'all think?
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
hold,
Okay,
hold,
let us
hold
read.
right there.
Yeah, let's read this. Okay.
you said she reached out right at the 1 year mark. Since she reached out, does that stop the clock?
That is how we have considered it, mainly because they did make the request to the commission, and due to our process, we can't get it to you before.
Okay.
Okay, could you scroll down a little bit? Thank you.
Okay. What was the date of the letter? We go back up just a second.
September 20th.
Is there a third page?
The third page is a doctor's note, and I think just due to the fact that we're having to share this in a sort of public format,
Yeah.
I would prefer to just go off of the fact that
And the doctor's note does verify her diagnosis and all that kind of stuff.
yes.
Okay.
And so what is her request?
Yeah.
What is she asking
She's
for?
asking for a waiver of the $1,800 penalties that have accumulated based on her E&O suspension and the fact that she's let her license lapse for this amount of time.
Okay.
But
And
if
none-
we,
and none
go ahead, I'm sorry.
and none of those fees have been paid, I'm guessing?
No.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion, let's see here, by Mr. Diaz and a second by Mr. Gwynn. Is that, or
DJ.
DJ Ferris?
Yeah, I heard DJ.
DJ Ferris. I would just like to speak to this one moment. After reading this for the first time, I will say, as a cancer survivor myself, that I understand exactly what she was saying, and my heart's with her, and I think we do. If we're going to give anybody any mercy, this person should have that mercy, I think. All right. All those in favor of the motion?
I'm
to
glad that she
approve?
could just write the letter.
I know,
Yes.
I know. All those in a motion to approve this applicant, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Question of Caitlin.
Yes.
Do we have a cutoff for submitting items for our meeting? Is it like the day before the meeting, or what?
We asked for them the week before, based on being able to get them together and submit them and allow the commission to review them in advance of the meeting. So typically, like last Wednesday is when we asked for them. And then occasionally, with our meetings being month to month, if it's somebody that's wanting to get their license, I know one of them was sent to everybody late. We do try to accommodate those just because we know that they're trying to get to work and get their license. And so that's why this time you got one last minute.
Is it clear in there that it's a week cutoff?
Typically what happens is they reach out, and then if they talk to another one of our staff, then they are communicating. They're forwarded to Aaron, and he communicates the meeting dates and
Okay.
when the cutoff is.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on the agenda. The next thing is the John Toon Award nomination. And I said John, didn't I?
You did.
Okay. Guess who the nomination is?
Go on, Madam Chair. You can. So yeah, if I explain this award incorrectly, please correct me. But as far as I know, the Bill Toon Award is awarded by this commission to worthy recipients that have demonstrated an excellence in education over the course of their career. And those of us that have served on the commission know that if you sit on this board for any period of time, you learn a lot. And John, being a 10-year member and chair for 6 of those 10
John
years.
Grease.
John Grease was member and chair for six of those 10 years.
I think so.
I think he more than personifies the Bill Toon Award. So I rise to nominate him to receive the Bill Toon Award.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Can we all second?
We can all second. And I have not known anyone more worthy of this award than John Grease, and his heart for this commission. John would schedule his hip replacements and his knee replacements around the real estate commission meetings and never miss a meeting. I mean, that's awesome. And yesterday, as I was driving from Franklin here, I called John and I said, John, I just wanted to tell you thank you for all the driving you have done for 10 years, every month driving to Nashville and sometimes driving to Memphis for the meetings. And since I live about 20 miles from the state capitol, I just see everyone else's commitment as being so much even greater than mine because of the traveling you're having to do. And it's not just the traveling, it's the danger involved in the traveling. And we've had people total their cars on the way to the meetings. And I just want to thank everybody on this commission and our staff too, for, showing up every month. And John Grease, he knew what he was doing. No one could ever fill his shoes, and I think this is a great person for this award. We'll have to see what would be the best place to award it to him if this is approved. And I just think it's an excellent nomination. DJ?
Yes, Chairman, I would like to add to the distinction of being in Farragut today. And I will say not lightly that this might be the house that John built as a former alderman for Farragut for many, many terms.
Planning
And
commissioner?
yes, so I think it's quite fitting for this to be raised today while we're here in Farragut in his community. We got to see him last night, and we're so glad that we know John Grease.
He's a blessing to all of us. All right, so let's take a vote on this, and let's see. The motion was by Mr. Diaz, and the second was by everybody. Okay, just pick whoever you want to when you write the minutes. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Congratulations, John Grease. We love him so much. Okay. Do we want to take a break? Okay. All right, so it's 10 o'clock. Let's be back 10 minutes, okay? All right, we'll be back at 10:10. All right, everyone, we're ready to begin.
Commissioner Corbett is not in the building, in the room, but that's okay. She just walked out, yeah.
Do you know Al Ganger?
What's his last name?
Al Ganger. Well, he's from Nashville. And he's working with a company.
Okay.
So I was maybe going to try to ask her if she's here, or if you want to ask her either way.
Okay.
I am with her. She could be just attending the meeting.
I see a Kelly Moore.
Yeah.
Not a Turner. Her name could have been changed.
Yes, I know somebody else in here had a different last name, but I have one here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Broker is Steve Black. I don't see a Steve Black.
Oh, okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to ask if Kelly Turner and her principal broker, Steve Black, are online.
Are we unmuted, Caitlin?
We're unmuted. Laura, are you able to hear us now?
Laura, are you muted? Hearing none.
Laura looks muted.
Laura does look muted, but she might not be at her computer either.
Yeah.
Carol, can you hear us?
There she is.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Caitlin.
Okay, thank you so much, Carol.
You're welcome.
So, Kelly Turner and Steve Black. All right, so we're going to, if they're not here, we're going to keep going. So next is our Education Director's Report. Mr. Ross is going to give us that information. Ross White is our executive, not our executive director, he is our Education Director.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and members of the commission. Good morning here in Knoxville. Too bad we're not here for 2 more days, and there'll be a big ball game here this Saturday.
You reckon?
A win.
You reckon?
I call your attention today to the education agenda, and I want to pull that up there. And I've reviewed all the courses, the providers, and the instructors on the agenda this morning. I presented it's 01 through 053. It was a pretty large agenda. and I present those for your approval this morning.
Does anyone have any education courses that they would like to pull from the agenda to have a conversation about? All right, seeing none. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Diaz and a second from Mr. Moffett to approve the education report, the October agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously, Ross. Thank you for that. And now to our educators this month.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the commission. We'll move on to the, there are two backgrounds for your instructors. So Form 1 and 2, present those for your approval as well.
All right, commissioners, are there any questions? And remember, there are two forms. There's 4 on, let's see, how many's on the second page?
Just one.
Just one on the second page. Any questions about any of these instructors?
Motion to approve these instructors.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Diaz and a second by Ms. Smith to approve these educators. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, next we go to our executive director's report. Ms.
Madam
Maxwell. Yeah,
Chairman,
excuse me.
Can I ask Ross just a quick question?
Certainly.
And this is more like an observation. I noticed 2 courses here. One was called Scams, Scoundrels, and Stings, and another one called Liars, Cheaters, and Thieves. Are you seeing more courses along those lines? And do you think, is that any kind of a trend?
Commissioner, I haven't really seen a trend. I've been here going on 8 years now, but I have seen from the beginning that there was, I think, a view toward looking into consumer protection and fraud cases. So I didn't see an uptick here this year, but I commend those providers that have those courses.
I'm just curious about the word sting. I mean, I don't know exactly what that sounds to me like. It's an operation by a federal or some kind of covert plan to take somebody down or something. Am I wrong on that?
That you're right on that. I think it's just the courses expose all the fraud and misrepresentation involved in out there as we know it in the culture we live in, especially as it relates to real estate.
Right.
And so a sting would fit that
I mean, I
in
think
those
it's a
parameters.
good thing that there's some courses.
I think they're attention-getting words in a form of marketing those classes.
I
I mean, it
agree
sounds
with
pretty
that.
exciting, doesn't it?
1, 2,
Yeah.
3. We got it. I got it.
You're
You were
spending
probably not
that
even born when the
day-long
movie came
meeting dealing with the woman who had been conned, and I can see why we need a lot of these, because
Yeah.
she clearly was unprepared for that.
Let that go.
We're never letting that
It
go.
was very traumatic.
Longest meeting ever.
You never told me it was your birthday.
We met until 7:30 that day.
Okay, let's move on to the executive director's report. Thank you, Mr. White, for that good report.
Madam Chairman.
I just have a couple updates for the commission and then open to any questions. The first update is something that I presented on last month, was the 120 hour issue. And I just wanted to update the commission that we did open up 40 complaints in regards to that matter. And so we're working through all of those with each one of those licensees. One thing that we are seeing a lot that I thought I would just mention is a lot of people will take the same courses multiple times. And this is just a quick plug that there is a rule that prevents that
Yeah.
from taking the same course within one renewal cycle. And then some of what we were seeing is people taking it twice within their 120 hours, but within 2 separate renewal cycles, since it's typically over 3 years. And so anyways, just wanted to update everybody that we are working through some of those. There might be a couple that you see, especially if the licensee does not agree, and we can find sort of no proof otherwise as to why they wouldn't need it. So you might see a couple, and if they don't agree and they provide additional information, those will come through on your legal report. So just a heads up there. But that's where we're at, and we've asked for all the education to be completed by the end of December. So I'll continue to keep the commission updated, but that's where it stands at
Thank you
this
for
moment.
that, yes.
I don't have much of an Arillo update, but I did just want to mention that a handful of us attended the Arillo conference at the end of August, beginning of September. And it was a great conference. It was great to have it in Tennessee. I don't know if anybody else that attended had any tidbits that they wanted to share. But there were some things that are hot topics with the commission that have also seemed to be hot topics around the rest of the country, especially the issue with the exclusive right to sell contracts that I think we've talked about a couple times. It seems like that's an issue across the country and that other states are acting on it. So it'll be interesting to see more to come. I think, is it Oklahoma that is changing a law?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then my last update, I presented the 2023 dates, tentative dates last month. Those should be under my report on your iPad 06A. All of these dates are the same with the exception of there had been a request. I know a few of our commissioners aren't here this week. It seems like we're falling in line with fall break the last couple years. And so the one change you will see is moving the October meeting up to the first week of October to avoid fall break next year.
The leaves won't be quite as pretty as they were on the drive to Knoxville this year, but I think that's been one of the things reasons we had it. Let's go to East Tennessee when the leaves are so beautiful. But it also happens to be fall break for everybody too. So I think we really need to move that to the first week.
Yes, so we have that tentative date, and then otherwise everything's the same. We don't have a set date for February, and we haven't gotten any outreach about attending the TNX conference. So I don't know if anybody has a preference how we line that up. I do know last month it seemed difficult for a couple people to get in on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that a Monday meeting makes the most sense for the commission, especially when we have people traveling across the state, unless we absolutely have to do that Monday meeting. Mm-hmm. But does anybody have any conflicts or issues with the proposed dates?
So for the July meeting, you're saying the meeting room's not available?
There's no meeting room available.
None. Okay.
So I didn't know, and this year we ended up not having the July meeting due to quorum
and stuff.
And so I didn't know if maybe we did slide this year without the July meeting, and so I didn't know if maybe there was a preference to just right now not have a July date set aside.
There's nothing in the statute that says that we have to have it every month.
No.
So, and if there's not a room, I would rather not do it at all as to have to do a Zoom. That's just.
Well, and right now we can't even do a Zoom. There's not, we would have to look outside of our typical dates because I believe I looked at the second Wednesday in July, which is when we typically meet, and I believe I looked ahead and behind.
Because you can't do the first week because of July 4th.
Yes, yeah, can't do that. And then when we get too late into July, then we just back right up to August. And so,
Right.
And I can tell you, having been on this commission for 9 years, there was a time when we had every case. We didn't do a consent agenda, so we had every case that we had to go by case by case by case by case by case, and we were here for 2 days. It was, it was hard. And I also think that not only the consent agenda has been a brilliant idea, but that our attorneys are knowing us well and knowing this is what the commission's going to do about this. They know that, so that makes it easy for us if they can say they're going to charge them $1,000 penalty for, yes, so we don't have to discuss it. I think that leaving out the month of July, it's fine with me because it didn't put us in a pinch as far as our cases. We did have a few more cases when we came back, but the consent agenda again helps with that problem.
You want a motion?
So do you want a motion that we not meet in July?
I more so, I guess, just want to make sure, as set aside, these dates are good with everybody. Yes.
I'm going to not be here on the May meeting in West Tennessee.
The Thursday.
Correct.
The 11th and the 12th.
When we come to your town?
Well, you don't know that you're going to be in Memphis or not.
We're in Jackson. We're in Jackson.
Okay.
So, of course, the one that is the least driving, I'm going to miss.
I don't know if we could move up, or are you gone the whole week?
I'm going to be,
You don't have to. You don't have to say. I just was
Yes.
trying to accommodate your schedule.
Going somewhere exotic, I'm sure.
it is.
Again.
Is there a preference to change it, or just?
I mean, if you could flip it to April and,
Well, no, we don't want 2 meetings in April.
no, flip
Do
West Tennessee to April
Oh.
and Nashville to May.
There goes your
That's-
Strawberry Festival
There
if
goes
we
the
do that.
Uh-oh. Y'all have to come to Strawberry Festival.
Yes.
I mean,
You
you know,
can
we,
miss it,
If nobody else has a
Yeah.
problem, I
It's-
think we should leave it as it is, and we'll still have a quorum if.
so, I mean,
So okay, no.
I guess,
no.
do you want a motion, or
Do I
you
need a motion, Anna? No.
Okay.
I'll email these dates out so everybody can add them to their calendar.
And did you reach out to TR to find out about the February, I mean, surely
No,
it's.
I just looked it up, and the current dates set aside are Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wednesday won't work. Wednesday won't work for the convention.
because that's when they go on the Hill to see the
So
legislators.
if we wanted to tentatively set our meeting to Tuesday, and Tuesday and Wednesday, if we have a formal hearing, would that be the preference?
What month is she talking about?
Now, another thing too,
Missed that.
for years and years and years, we had a formal appearance every week, every month we had one. So I'm loving that we're not seeing as many of those, and that just tells me that the attorneys are being able to work things out to keep us from having to do that, because those are very long days when we have, I mean, you have no
7:30.
timetable on that, so.
Yeah, I know, on birthdays. And they,
Yeah.
they take
It's
all
very bad
day.
on birthdays. But I appreciate you negotiating those things out for us. It's a huge help for everybody.
Currently one scheduled for November.
Right, we have one scheduled for November right now. Formal hearing on, and it will be on the meeting day, the 9th, featuring Mr. Dennis Gregory. Will be doing that hearing. Don't know if it will be continued, but at this time, it would be following the meeting. So that is scheduled at this time.
And we're not doing a meeting on the 10th of November. It's just the
Correct.
9th.
It's just the 9th.
Okay.
We'll also be having a rulemaking hearing that day, too.
Ooh, okay.
Is that anybody's birthday?
Yes, it is Stacy's birthday.
So the meeting day for
On the
November.
9th
It's
of November?
only- It's only the 9th.
It's my
It's only the
50th
9th.
birthday. I'm gonna be
All day.
spending my 50th birthday with you guys.
Yes, we decided to
And
have
another formal hearing.
we decided to have another hearing birthday for Stacy.
Me earlier what day your birthday was, and I told him the 9th, so.
Yes.
That's, yep.
And I decided to add a rule-making hearing.
I'm glad we're doing it all in one day, though, but, I mean, I hate it for Stacy. So that means on the night before, we'll plan a really good dinner, and you can pick it, where we go for that dinner.
I had reserved McDonald's, but
No!
I can cancel the reservation.
And everybody needs to remember that Tuesday, the 8th, is Election Day. So don't forget to vote before you head to Nashville. Okay, Ms. Maxwell?
Unless anybody has any questions or anything further.
Anybody have any questions for Mrs. Maxwell?
I want to say something about Arello. I was surprised to hear there were several states that when you have a penalty that and your license can be downgraded, then there is a provision period. They do a provision license for 3 months. So you have one-on-one training, mandatory one-on-one training with a broker. It was just an interesting concept to hear several states talk about that. That's all.
I thought it was good. I can't remember which principal broker today. I think it was Janet, actually, DeChara, that said that for the first few months until the person is comfortable, that they go with them on the appointments. And I know that's not doable in big, giant offices, but that's a great thing and advantage for people first coming in to have that. That's great. It needs to be encouraged.
Oh, the one, I did do the timeshare presentation at Arello because we did have a statutory update regarding rescission rights. As it presently stands, you can cancel rescission rights via mail. But when the statute takes effect on January 1st, 2023, you can also cancel via email. And Tennessee is actually the only state in the United States that has it in statute that you can do that via email as well. So we'll be adding that via rule to match the statute at the rulemaking hearing as well. But I learned that we're the only state that has that. At the Arello conference, I did a short presentation before the timeshare committee at the conference in August.
Good work, team.
So that ability to rescind or use the rescission rights, that only applies to timeshares that are in the state of Tennessee?
Depends on where the
Or the
offense took
buyer.
place.
Yes, so it's for the contract. So it's still the rescission rights if you have seen the site or like have physically viewed the site or if you have not. So it's I think I want to say, I don't want to get the days right, but it's
10 and 14.
it's it's like 10 or 14 days. So you can send it via email, via U.S. mail. So the rules are going to specifically state how it can be sent via email and also what language is to be included in the contracts regarding the rescission rights to individuals for the contracts.
Okay, so that's regardless of where
Which
the
is great because-
timeshare property is.
It's for, it will be specific to Tennessee. Tennessee
It's great
properties
because some
contracts.
states only have a 3-day rescission period, and a lot of times we see that older consumers feel like they've taken advantage of with a 3-day rescission. That doesn't even get them home from the vacation to talk to their kids about it for someone to say stop. So I was really proud of Anna's presentation, and that Tennessee was in the forefront
Yes.
of that.
Question for Caitlin, maybe. Regarding Arello, this is the second meeting that I've been to, and there's been a lot of discussion about revamping of websites. So I'm not saying we talk about it today, but maybe I would like to hear kind of an update and a summary of kind of the history of our web. I mean, when was the last time it was redone? Who redid it? What are the roadblocks or not roadblocks to update our website? If it needs to be updated, I have no idea. And maybe you're saying everything's working great. I don't know. But in talking with the vendor at the meeting, what she was telling me does not sound like it was a lot of money to do a revamp. So that's, does that make sense?
The licensing vendor?
No, this is a website vendor. This was the lunch that we went to.
Yes, yeah, I think they provide the licensing services. They provide the
No,
renewal.
this is a website company. This is how it looks and how it.
The problem with that is that you'll notice that all of all the regulatory boards are under commerce and insurance.
Correct.
And so that all is under the commerce insurance. We don't have our own set aside. We can do it like some other states do.
Which, I mean, so you talk about roadblocks.
That's, yeah.
That's a big roadblock.
It's a big roadblock. And if you were to go to like the governor's website, his is outlined and laid out the same as ours. So is the Department of Safety. So is the Department of Human Health. And I mean, every single state department is laid out the same way. We do have control, and we do try to go out to our website at least every 6 months and reduce and remove information or add information that we feel like is necessary. But we are limited in the layout and the look currently. And I do believe the websites were all revamped. I think it was under that Haslam administration, so probably around 2012. So it's probably been at least, I don't know exactly when it happened, but I think it did happen during.
So we've got 40,000 plus what I'm going to say is customers. I mean, do you think they think the website works fine? Do we ever poll people and get input as to?
I think.
I mean, I'm always getting, every time I do something, somebody wants my opinion of how does it work? Are you happy? Blah, 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 blah.
We do get customer feedback from our call and email communication. I think sometimes that's specific to the customer service encounter. So I don't know. I mean, that is something that we can have the ability, I believe, to look at how long like somebody lingers on a page, like where they're clicking and that sort of thing. So, and I know our customer service team is constantly updating the frequently asked questions page and revising that. So it's definitely something to look into. It's hard to say because if you're calling, then you might not be going to the website too.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to Oklahoma, they would say that their website has given them the ability to do a lot of things much more efficiently, and whether it be collect fees or do this or do that. And it just seems like, for us to say, oh, we can't do it because, I mean, maybe that's the reason. We can't do it because we can't do it.
So right now, I can tell you, I think it's somewhere between like 92% of people renew online. So there's about 8% that we're not capturing that aren't like renewing their license or paying their fees online. And I think there's probably always going to be an 8% that.
There's always people that go to the water department to pay their water bill.
Yes, there's always going to be that. So I think one thing that we run into, and I'm sure this is something that every state runs into, if you are doing nothing else to your license but renewing it, you're only seeing us every 2 years. And I know, like myself in particular, when you're only like logging into something once every 2 years, you basically have to relearn it or re-figure out your password or re-figure out your username. So, and then obviously there's people that transfer their license frequently or are changing the status and that sort of thing. But I think a majority of licensees are probably only encountering the renewal system maybe once every 2 years, maybe more frequently if they're a principal broker. But anyways, I do know that the presentation that some people were part of with the state, everything is bid out and contracted out. And so I believe they, as well as other vendors that were there, have been given the information to bid on the contract. And so that's through a RFP process.
Right.
And so.
Okay, thank you.
There's a system to it. Okay. Next on our agenda, is that all you had, Ms. Maxwell?
That is, thank you.
Okay. All right, so next is our legal consent agenda. And Ms. Maxwell, can you give us the numbers that have, of the pooled?
Yes.
Cases.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 12, 15, 18, 23, 27, 40, 44, 45, 49, and 60.
Wow.
Madam Chair, I don't know about anybody else, but I pulled cases 2 and 3. I'd like to take those off the list and accept council's recommendation.
Okay, 2 and 3, just,
Joan also pulled number 2.
2 also, let me see. Yes, I pulled 2 also.
all right, so we'll leave 2 on and take 3 off. Correct? Okay. With that being said, is there a motion to accept council's recommendation on the legal consent agenda for all the other items except for those that were listed by Ms. Maxwell?
Motion, so moved.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Diaz and a second by Mr. Moffett. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, so let's get started. Who pulled number 1?
Me.
All right,
Did anybody else pull it?
Ms. Joan.
Okay, I pulled that one. This is where the complainant is the buyer and the respondent is the listing agent. And they were upset over several things, but the one thing that caught my eye was the complainant also says the respondent and her boyfriend had flipped the home together, which should have prompted the need for a personal disclosure statement. But the respondent says, well, I didn't have to because he was my boyfriend. But those of us who practice and use the personal interest also see that there's a place down there to mark other. So I really felt like that this listing agent should have disclosed that she and her boyfriend had she and this person had a relationship. So she had a relationship to that house in a way that I felt like she should have disclosed that. And that was one of the reasons that the complainant was upset. So I guess my recommendation is to send a letter of warning for skill and care.
All right, let me ask this. Was that person, was the licensee on the deed or in any way?
Not according to the information we have.
Okay. Anybody want to discuss that or second that motion?
Do they have to disclose that, or you're just saying ethically they should disclose
The
it?
fine line there, and I've got two hats on, commissioner and realtor. So I'm swaying back and forth a little
have to
bit.
take one off
And
today.
I gotta take one of them off. But at the same time, I think that, well, I'm open for discussion.
It warrants bringing it up for sure.
It wants bringing it up and asking,
So,
this person had a complaint about it.
I know this was like, so this, the reason that you still see Dennis's name on here is because, and you'll see his name on the next report as well, is because he did do a number of summaries before he left, because he's like a machine. And so I do remember discussing this one with him, and we were both like borderline trying to figure out if we thought that a disclosure should have been sent. And ultimately, when we were thinking about this, we came to the conclusion we didn't think that a disclosure should have been sent, just for the fact that the individual wasn't on the deed, and the relationship at best was a little bit further distant. But I can understand like the concern of where it was, but it was a consideration that we had. So
when we send, because there's two things, there's a letter of instruction and there's a letter of warning. The letter of instruction, does it even go on their record? A letter of warning does, but seems like I heard somewhere years ago, the letter of instruction does not.
letter of instruction, letter of warning are both.
Same thing?
They both are considered private discipline, and neither of
Okay.
them go on the
Okay.
disciplinary action report.
Okay.
so, but you're able to tell us that this respondent was not on the deed for this property?
No.
All right, so I guess her financial interest is limited to what the commission was going to be for the transaction?
So if you sent a letter of warning or instruction, what would that be?
I mean, you'd have to
Because
put
it didn't violate really any reasonable skill and care. It's more of just a personal ethics, I would think.
Yeah. Ethics goes to the association, not to us.
Right, it does. I think it was a fine line there. But I can back up and agree to the recommendation, which is to close.
I agree that they should have disclosed that, but I don't know what we can do other than say they should have disclosed it.
And I think that's why she's saying a letter of warning doesn't give them any kind of penalty. It's just because if these are people flipping houses every other day, this could come back up again. It sounds like they're flipping houses.
Sounds like he's flipping, she's selling.
Right. So,
Did somebody get a
it's your
second?
motion, though.
I have the motion on the floor,
So we got a second?
Is there a second to
What was your?
a letter of
a
warning?
letter of warning.
What would letter of warning say? I mean, if we send a letter of warning, is
I
it
mean,
just a letter of warning?
So since Commissioner Smith has said the reasonable skill and care, it would provide that statute in the
So that would be.
in the particular letter, saying the commission looked at your complaint and believes that, and it would talk about the personal interest disclosure and saying this letter of warning would be about reasonable skill and care in the particular disclosure interest. I guess my question, this is just for my own knowledge, would be what would be in that other section on the personal interest disclosure form if the two individuals are not married?
Partner. Well, it says on that form, immediate family, or I'm the seller, or I'm the buyer, or I forget what all is on the form, but at the bottom it says other.
She used to chair the forms committee.
Right, I know. I'm just like, I'm trying to think of other circumstances, what you would put in the other box.
There's the other spot allows for any disclosure that realtor or broker deems necessary to be pertinent to the deal. It could be argued that this was pertinent, but I can see that this was also a private matter. There's, who knows, you know. So I do think, as Jeff mentioned, this is more of an ethics thing with the association.
Right. I mean, there's also the part of the statute that talks about having the deal fairly and honestly.
Right, so I'm like, the duties owed to all parties,
Yes.
not engage in self-dealing or act.
Yeah.
Well, it says this particular statute, provision 7A, not engage in self-dealing nor act on behalf of a licensee's immediate family or on behalf of an individual, any other individual, organization, or business entity in which licensee has a personal interest without prior disclosure of the interest and the timely written consent of all parties to the transaction. But
I'm sorry.
are we saying this case, the boyfriend, partners, the immediate family, or other individual, a personal interest?
Well, it's
Yes.
certainly a more familiar relationship than a client walking off the street.
Right.
this
I
was-
know. I'm thinking like
Right.
in the context of if we were to receive other complaints.
We're in a different world now. I
Right.
mean, used to, you had married people and you had unmarried people, and that's not how it is anymore.
Yes, I understand.
So, I don't see why a letter of warning would hurt. I would say this, if I had been in this person's position, I would want to disclose it so that this wouldn't happen to me, that I wouldn't come before the real estate commission.
No, and I understand. I do get that this is like a different world, but we also
It's
have the
not a
statutes.
requirement.
We have the statutes that we have, even if times have changed.
Right, that's
So the
right.
statute's silent and we haven't defined it for you. So the statute's silent and we haven't defined it for you.
I mean, like the statute says immediate family or other individual, and so if
What's that mean? Or other individual?
right,
she's trying to
other
find out.
individual is like, is that what we're talking about? Other individual. I mean, I'm not trying to be argumentative.
Yeah,
to
oh, I
be-
know,
understand.
I know.
I'm just
And
trying.
some people never married, but they lived together for 40 years, so.
Right.
If she hadn't disclosed that she was working with her boyfriend, this wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Need to see some ID.
So,
It looks to me like the complaints are more about footage and GFCI wiring than they are. I mean, it's like a throwaway comment that the complainant says the respondent and boyfriend had flipped the home together. I don't know what that means.
Well, she's got a relationship there. She did it
Together, does that
together.
mean together? So they're only gonna flip houses that they're working on? I mean, I don't know what that means.
It does seem like an after-the-fact comment. It
Yeah.
seems like the crux of her complaints are the square footage discrepancy, the condition of the home, and by the way,
Which shouldn't be before us in the first place, that part.
Right.
But at the same time, if they are going to continue doing it, a letter of warning, I mean, they can do with the letter of warning whatever they want to do with a letter of warning. They can obey it or
yeah,
nothing.
we can.
Right.
I'm fine with sending a letter of warning.
Is there a second to that? Okay, DJ seconded. All right, any more discussion on number one? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, we have 2 noes
5 to 2.
and 5 yeses. Okay, number 2. Who was number 2?
That's John.
Joan, okay.
That one, let me go back and see what it was. Okay, this is where they were going to buy a house and rent it out or lease it, and they put it on a social media site and then they didn't buy the house. So the property is still on a social site, and the respondent wants it taken down. Let me see what it is. Am I,
So, right, so the respondent did take the advertisement down after the deal fell through. or a few days after the deal fell through.
4 days, so many days after the deal fell through. Okay, then the respondent was the buyer, and it's a licensed person. Is that correct? No, it doesn't say that.
Doesn't say what the sellers are.
Doesn't say it's an entity. Okay, here we go. This is what got me. As a practical matter, the respondent should have exercised better judgment given his knowledge of the business as a broker. That made me think he was a licensed person.
The respondent is a licensed person,
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm saying.
a real estate broker.
Yeah, so I'm guessing Joan and I pulled this for the same reasons. That I really don't like it when licensees say, I wasn't acting as a licensee in this capacity.
That's right.
I don't believe you ever get to set aside your license like that. Because regardless, you still have more knowledge than the seller potentially.
That's why I pulled it too. So do you feel like there's justification for anything, Jeff? I felt like if you were a broker, a licensed broker, and you have advertised a house prior to owning it,
That's false advertising.
it just looked,
I mean, yeah, it's not the way I would do it, but
he was advertising on Facebook as a rental before he owned the house, and then he decided not to buy the house. So the house is still out on a social media site, and the sellers are not happy.
that's that 4-day. It's that 4-day
About 10
continuance.
days due diligence I will do. He told them he was going to do a video to find contractors for estimate and future tenants. But he wasn't going to take any money.
Does the record show that there's any paperwork or anything, like the complainant agreed to let him advertise, or was it just a verbal thing?
Let me see.
If it isn't written, it's merely conversation.
Right.
And did he have permission from the sellers to advertise in
That's why
writing?
that's why I want the documentation.
Yep, that was in my notes.
We need the Jeopardy music.
What statute were you thinking, John? Was that reasonable skill and care?
Yes.
I don't have that paperwork.
And do you think does it warrant more than a letter of warning since it's a broker? Or do you want to just?
Well, the attorneys wanted to close it.
Yeah, I know. But since we pulled it, we're probably going to decide to do something different.
That's what I'm thinking, too.
The only document I have is the purchase and sale agreement.
Purchase and sale agreement doesn't give you permission to advertise something for rent or lease.
No, it's a separate. I know that you
Yeah,
get a sign in the yard, but not a.
Yeah, that's the only document that was provided. But
So we have
I
to
don't-
assume no.
in the file. It just looks like all the other documents that that were provided were screenshots.
Did any of the screenshots give them permission to advertise on Facebook before owning
The
it?
screenshots are just screenshots of the advertisement.
Oh,
They're not, there's nothing about conversation
okay.
related to it.
Well, let's go.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I mean, I can send a letter of warning related to
Reasonable skill and care.
reasonable skill and care.
Okay, so who's making that?
I'll make a motion to send this respondent a letter of warning regarding exercising reasonable skill and care.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Diaz and a second by Commissioner Smith to send a letter of warning for reasonable skill and care. Any further discussion? Steve?
What did they do? What did he do wrong? Tell me that again.
He was advertising something for rent. or
After
lease before
the
he had
listing
owned it.
agreement was,
He
so it
didn't
was
have a listing
on,
agreement. He had a contract to
A
purchase.
purchase.
but it fell through.
Correct.
Advertise.
And he continued to mow.
And he continued to advertise it.
And he didn't have written permission that we have to advertise it for rent when he didn't own
For 4 days.
it. Well, doesn't it say 10?
It said the Facebook site was alive for 4 days after the mutual release.
But he was advertising for rent.
But we don't know what the listing agreement says.
There's not a listing agreement. It's only a contract.
Yeah, the purchase sale agreement doesn't talk about advertising online for residential.
Well, it says there was a listing agent for the complainants, which says something. It might,
Right, the listing agent might have had permission to advertise, but not the buyer.
Buyer's agent wouldn't have permission until they closed, unless they had written permission.
Unless they got it separately, yeah.
We're debating a letter of warning. I support that.
Call the question, Madam Chair.
All right, we have a call for the question, so we're going to vote. So we have before us a letter of warning for reasonable skill and care on number 2. That motion was by Mr. Diaz, second by Ms. Smith. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 12, who had number 12?
Me
Joan,
again.
yep, I believe that was.
Am I the only one on that one?
You are.
Well, I was full of it.
This one's interesting, though.
Yeah, it is. The thing that bothered me was the respondent told these people that it would be a different price if they were working with an agent versus no agent. So he was willing to change the price of the property without the seller's permission. Is that what it sounds like to you?
Not,
No.
we don't know that. Do
For
we?
the buyers, there would be a different price if they were working with an agent or no agent.
Do you think the agent, the respondent might have said that if I bring a buyer, the commission rate will be different and your proceed?
This is being said at a showing.
I just can't think we can't assume that they had not already talked about that with the seller. Maybe they, I would assume that they had, if they're being,
Okay, read that first paragraph and tell me what your thoughts are.
okay.
You still feel that way?
Yeah, I don't have any question with that. The respondent did not, I think later it says that the respondent didn't know that they had a broker.
The respondent is the listing agent.
It's the listing
It's the
agent.
listing agent.
Right, they didn't, yeah, and did the complainant come in, did the buyers come in and say, hey, we have an agent?
It looks like no.
Exactly.
Saying he didn't know that they
So
were
what
represented.
What it sounds like he's saying, if you buy through me, then the price is gonna be different than if you bring someone else in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the price is reflecting the list price of the house or the fees that are added onto that for kind of like a brokerage fee or some other kind of set of fees that come on after that. And maybe if it's a single agent transaction, they don't charge those fees.
So my question is, do we have anything showing that he he or she had permission to change the price without the seller's knowledge.
Sorry, I think this needs to be clarified. The respondent also supposedly told the buyers, this should say with an agent versus another agent, not no agent.
Okay.
Because it says in the complaint, he also told my clients that there would be a different price if they worked with another agent versus working with him directly.
Oh,
That still presupposes that he knew they were represented, though. And if he's saying he didn't, do we know different?
So he's basically saying he'll be the buyer and the seller agent in this transaction.
He wanted to be, yeah.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be the agent form, it's
Right.
just the fee would be different.
I mean, because somebody could say, I mean, we have a builder that, you know, if there's a buyer's agent, they get 3%. If there's not a buyer's agent, then we have a different percentage if we have two agents.
Does the price of the property change?
The price of property doesn't change, but the commission does.
Okay, this says a different
That the
price,
price would be different.
not the fee, but the price.
But the price is in, your commission's in the price.
Okay,
And,
my
and
point is, if you're going to do that, your seller should be able to tell you that. You can't, I don't think you can change the price of a property without the seller's permission.
But does it say here they didn't have the seller's permission?
That's my question that I'm asking.
So if we don't know,
We don't know.
we don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we can punish somebody for something we don't know.
I'm more interested in the part where they're forging signatures on the title and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that also. But I didn't know that that fell under us.
No, I don't think it
yeah.
does, but it's
I
interesting.
think that's called criminal.
Yeah.
No, it does sound criminal.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Although at the same time, we do have misrepresentation as parts of our statute. I mean, you could shoehorn it in there if you wanted to.
And when there's a problem with a former spouse,
I'm
my
thinking no,
red
but-
flag goes up.
Oh, no, I do not think that forging signatures would be a misrepresentation. I definitely think that falls outside of your jurisdiction.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I think that would, no, I don't
Okay,
think
so Ms. Joan, this is yours. So
I'm
what,
gonna-
when
I'm
you want to
gonna
make
go
a
with-
motion?
I'm going to go with the recommendation to close. It bothers me a little bit, but I don't think we have enough information.
Okay, so we have a motion to close by Ms. Smith and a second by Mr. Diaz. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Number 15.
Yeah, that's mine. The only question I have for this one is, I couldn't tell from the narrative, is do we know if the owner is licensed or not?
Hold on 1 second.
The owner claims to be a
Yeah,
licensed broker.
I mean, did we look at license verify or anything?
The investigator, let's see, let me look and see. Give me 1 second. What?
Just remember, Anna, you're on the record.
She cannot play poker.
She has a tell.
That should have been her fun fact.
So the tenant was complaining about this
Yeah,
property
the
management person,
condition
but
of the
then the
unit.
investigator is the one who's bringing up,
Whether they're licensed or not.
yeah,
Because, I mean, I think even if you're an owner,
claims to be a licensed broker. That's easy to look up, but I don't want to dare do it myself.
No. I mean, because even if you are managing your own properties, if you have a license, I mean, you have, I think, a higher obligation, I would think.
Has the respondent responded to,
Has the respondent responded?
yeah,
They wouldn't have because they're unlicensed.
Well, I mean,
They wouldn't be required to.
If they're unlicensed, they don't have to respond.
Yeah, this, this is just, I mean, I think this case, I would move to recommend, follow council's recommendation, because it's like we're trying to tell the respondent to answer their phone. They should be more prompt, but
The charge is an unlicensed property management company, though.
right, and that's why I'm trying to figure out if they have a license or not, because that changes their
I mean,
obligations.
can somebody just go to license verify?
But he says in here that a license is unnecessary because the owner's handling their own management.
Right, but he also says that the owner claims to be a licensed broker. So I'm trying to, it may not be required, but if he has one, does that change his obligations in somebody else's opinion?
Not if he's the owner, it doesn't,
No.
to me.
respondent is just the maintenance man?
I'm just surprised the investigator didn't quickly look up and see.
Okay.
I mean, we can license verify in 2 minutes. I do it every day, just about.
I mean, if it's not going to change his obligations, then I guess that question's moot.
It's not clear if they're licensed or not.
What's unclear then?
Huh?
You would have his name or not?
I
What's unclear?
I said it's not. They're not licensed.
Okay, all right.
Motion to approve council's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Diaz and a second by Mr. Gwynn. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Number 18.
I think that was yours.
I was on number 18. I don't know if anybody else was.
No, it was just,
Okay, so number 18, they asked, the recommendation is a letter of warning for failure to exercise reasonable skill and care. And I have written down here a penalty of $500 plus a class. So now I need to look back at this and see why I said that.
Probably because it says technically, once a listing is provided, I represent the seller. I promise you are not representing how it will work for you. It just must be like that on the form.
All right, I'm going to stick with council's recommendation for a letter of warning for to exercise reasonable skill and care.
Second.
All right, so
You want to make?
why don't you make?
I'll make
you
the
make the
motion.
motion.
I'll make, so moved.
Okay. Mr. Diaz made the motion. Ms. Smith made the second, that we accept council's recommendation for a letter of warning for failure to exercise reasonable skill and care. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 23.
I had that one.
Okay, Jeff.
So on this one, I don't like the underhandedness of how the purchase and sale agreement was handled, having the two sellers, one signing it, one not. I think to me it just violates the statute about duty to all parties, specifically 6213-434, which is the failure to deal honestly with all parties. I just think it was underhanded and purposely left them a loophole to back out of the PSA. And as a consumer protection body, I just think that was taking advantage of the consumer's ignorance or naivete, whatever. And I'd just like to actually recommend that we fine him $1,000 for failure to exercise reasonable skill and care, and I make that a motion.
Is there a second so we can discuss?
Second, so we can discuss.
Okay.
Um,
Mr. Ferris.
Thank you. Is there documentation on hand where, showing where the respondent's son did mark accepted and that the complainant in fact had a contract that said accepted and was bound by somebody?
Hold on one second. My computer's loading.
It's strange you would have anybody sign as a negotiating tool.
Which one signed?
Uh,
The respondent signed or his son signed?
Since the contract was only in its negotiating stage and not a binding offer, as it contained only one of the seller signatures.
But one is a corporate entity. And so that could only require only one signature.
And the other
And that
is-
was the respondent's son who signed it.
Yeah, it just,
Does seem a little shady.
Well, it might have been that the son was had decided to sell it, and somebody at the other seller was like, "Hold up, man! No, I don't want you to sell this."
Yeah.
And like they might not have been on. They
Agreed.
might not have been trying to like weasel out of it. They might have just, we got 4 offers coming in today, and I just wanted to know, like, did the complainant receive a? If I'm the complainant and it's my buyer, did I have?
A bound
What am I hanging my
contract.
hat on?
Yeah.
well, it seems from the narrative that the complainant was hanging their hat on that they had a signed contract, not recognizing that there should have been 2 signatures on there instead of just one.
So,
You know, because if I'm on the buyer side of that agreement, or if I'm the respondent, okay, we need to sign it in 2 places.
So Ms. Matlock, is there a purchase and sell agreement, and is it signed that you can pull up?
The internet is very slow, so I'm waiting on it to load still. I'm sorry.
Here would be my question for.
It could say one person,
Sorry.
comma, chief managing officer, or comma, manager, for an entity where only one person has to sign, even if there's 2 people on the company. That's what I'm wondering, is that what happened?
My question is this a way that they've figured out how to not be able to enforce a contract? If it's a father-son duo and one of them signs it,
Yeah,
and then it's not a legal document, they can go back and say, we've gotten a better offer.
right, because none of the clocks start ticking on a contract until
Until
binding date.
It's bound.
Until it's bound.
And it should
Is it
say the
bound
binding date.
With one signature or both signatures?
It's both signatures.
Both signatures, whatever's
We
required.
think it's both signatures.
Whatever's required.
Well, there's two seller signatures on the purchase and sale agreement.
Well, that's what I'm asking. If
But
it's-
sometimes it
is
only
an
requires one
LLC?
signature
Is
if
it
it's a
some sort-
LLC.
Yeah. So I guess the question is it bound with one signature?
Well, I mean,
Depends on the entity.
I think it's kind of silly to put 2 signature blocks on there if you only need one.
No, I mean,
I
I've
guess
seen
either
4
that-
signatures on contracts.
Yeah.
But let me back up. A contract is a form of, if I'm not mistaken, a contract is legal when the sellers have signed. The bottom line doesn't say binding, it says acknowledgement. So all that does is say to the receiving party that you've got an accepted contract. But you can have, I'm not an attorney, but from my understanding, you have a contract when you have all signatures. Is that correct, attorneys?
It says and bound
Where does it say that?
in here,
Okay, but our contracts don't.
and not a binding offer.
But our contracts don't say that.
I mean, and I'm kind of taking the complainant, I'm looking at it from the complainant's perspective. They felt they had a binding agreement.
Are we still waiting on your computer?
And they can,
Whether or not they did is a legal matter.
right.
It's either you got a legal contract or you don't. It's not, It's one way.
Well, but
It's
I also understand they're looking at a contract and they got a signature on it. From their perspective, it's signed.
Right.
But I think,
But unless,
right,
Wait a minute.
But-
Jeff,
but I
wait a
think-
minute. Jeff, only.
It's not the computer. We're having the same problem. It's something with the internet.
Okay.
If you have an offer and acceptance and the sellers and everybody has come together and signed, then you have a binding contract.
right, but at issue is that there were two places for sellers to sign. One was the corporate entity, one was the individual capacity, I think it was. One was signed, not two. And from the consumer's perspective, they got that one signature. And maybe they're completely ignorant of contract law. Maybe they don't know. But from their perspective, they had a binding contract. So if that's what you believe, then your certain next steps and the actions you take as a buyer or a seller is reliant on that belief. So, we're up here splitting hairs and citing legality, but that person may not have known that. And as the consumer, or as agents for the consumers, we're supposed to be the ones that deal honestly with them and guide them through this transaction, even if they're not our client.
And the complainant is the buyer's agent. So it looked like the time to have said, stop, wait, we have to have two signatures, or not. That person would have known that.
Okay, I've just figured something out here that I didn't see before. I thought that the respondent, the listing agent, was the other owner, but that's not the case. So that we don't know the other entity. We don't know the other corporate entity. So we don't know if the son signed it and the corporate entity said no, or vice versa. So I was reading this wrong at the beginning. I thought it was.
All right, so do we want to come back to this one from when they can get, because the answer's going to be on the signatures. And we can't really make a decision until we know that, can we?
I guess the last sentence, I have a problem with. It says, whoever, if it's Dennis or whoever wrote it.
Dennis.
Regardless of the reason, the
They don't have
contract was
access
not
to?
complete or binding if the other seller had not consented to the terms. That's his conclusion, yes.
You can't either.
He looked at it.
Yep.
Yep.
Let me try.
It was non-binding.
According to what he
Or
saw.
is it Dennis's? So
Not-
Dennis says it
Dennis
was
is saying.
non-binding.
Well, I mean, I think my concern and my question goes beyond the legality of the contract. It's how the licensees behaved in the course of the transaction. And the fact that they had one signature and the consumer was led to believe that it was a binding contract. To me, that seems like that was not the appropriate behavior for the licensees to kind of leave that one signature lacking so they can have an exit to this contract.
Yes, I agree with
And-
that. That's my concern. Is this a strategy that they can use going forward with any?
Yeah,
property?
it's like a loophole that it's not a binding contract, so we don't have to abide by the terms that we said we would.
That,
'Cause-
we don't know that that's their strategy or anything like that, though.
Well,
That-
it's evidenced by fact that there's not a
But it
signature on
does
it.
expose a loophole.
Well, he does say, he says the contract was only in its negotiating stage and not binding as it
Then why
contained
sign
only
it?
one of the seller's signatures.
Yeah, I've never heard of one signing it as
As a
negotiation
negotiating
tool.
Unless you're countering, where's the counter? You sign the counter? I mean,
It was a contract.
So somebody accepted their earnest money, right? So they paid earnest money.
Was that cashed? I mean, that'd be a
Yeah,
good
it's-
question.
yeah, they paid
$2,000 on,
$2K on a 270 offer.
Deposited by somebody that the respondent is affiliated with, like a title company or their firm, that indicates a cause that they.
so if it was accepted and deposited, that tells you a lot.
Right. But if, the respondent is the listing agent, his son and a corporate entity are the sellers, and he's doing what his client is telling him to do. It sounds like one of the sellers was in agreement, the other one wasn't.
Mine are connected now, but
I'm not quick to jump to find ill intent on behalf of the sellers with what I know here.
Be okay with the letter of warning.
you should be able to.
During this time, the complainant says respondent did not change the status of the MLS to pending. She claims to have filed a complaint with the local Realtor Association.
Well, you gotta be connected to the JV.
Maybe, and I,
Forward with, they say here, moving forward with the inspections and the appraisal, so
They went forward like it was
like it was a
a
binding
signed deal,
contract.
yeah.
maybe we need class. Maybe we need education.
Well, you can't do an education with a letter of warning. You got to find something.
So what would the fine be for?
Motion and that's on the floor.
Motion is
a
$1,000.
fine for failure to deal honestly with all parties. I mean, the fact that it's even a question, to me, kind of evidences the fact that they didn't deal fairly.
I don't see how that we can move forward on this one until we find out what's written on that agreement. So can we come back to number 23? And we'll keep that motion.
Okay.
But we'll come back to it once we know what was written on that contract.
Okay.
Is that agreeable to everybody?
We don't need to vote on the motion?
No, I can hang out there for a second.
All right, number 27.
That's not me.
Number 27 was me. I looked at number 27. Okay, this one, the recommendation was letter of warning for unlicensed activity. We have never given a letter of warning for unlicensed activity. We've always assessed a $1,000 penalty for unlicensed activity, not a letter of warning.
Well, respondent didn't respond because they said they're not a licensee in Tennessee, so they don't have to. But it also says that they engage in unlicensed activity, so.
So, I mean, they're saying exactly that. I mean, it's
we
kind
have
of they're
license.
hanging their own self on that statement.
I'm connected.
But they also say that,
And Dennis found a letter of warning for unlicensed activity.
right, but he's saying he also had trouble
I know.
obtaining service and process.
But you know what? I don't care if they have trouble obtaining service process. I don't care. I would rather just have that on there as to say, well, back in October, you didn't find somebody $1,000 for unlicensed activity.
All that, and if they do come to get a license, it'll be there too.
It'll be there.
Care that we can't find.
You can't find them. Yeah, I know.
I'm just like, you don't care if we can't find them?
I don't. Because what if they come back to get a license?
That just doesn't make any sense
So
to
if you
me.
can run and hide, there's no penalty. That's what I don't like.
I mean, that makes no sense.
It does to me.
Okay.
So this is still Dennis's, right?
Yes.
This is Dennis's. So his is basically a cease and desist in that last sentence. The letter of warning is basically just a cease and desist.
And how are you going to send that to them if you can't find them? Same thing.
I mean, we can't find them, so I don't if you want us to send resources to keep sending a consent order over and over, we can. But, if we can't find them, we can't find them.
Can we do a close and flag?
We can close and flag
Okay,
it.
I would be
That's
okay with
fine.
that. I would be okay. Can you just flag and not close?
No, we can close and flag it.
All right,
Okay.
so I'll make a motion to
Okay.
close and flag, number 27.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to close and flag by Mr. Diaz and a second by Ms. Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Y'all tell me when we're ready to go back to number 23, if you get your signal up.
Okay. Hold on, I actually can pull it up. My computer.
Calling NASA, get the satellites linked up. And
Elon Musk and Starlink is
computers
right
are
up.
kicking on, wheels are spinning,
This computer. This contract is not meant to.
Morse code. It's gonna be a while.
Just keep going.
Watts bars.
Keep going, so let's go to the next
All
one.
right, so we're going to go on to number 40.
Letter 40.
Number 40, who had that one?
I had it.
Okay.
What I get? All right, so this one has to deal with one licensee placing, I would call confidential information into Realtor remarks about the disposition of a previous loan application, and that getting out to other realtors in future transactions. To me, I don't think Realtor remarks is a pretty big firewall against disclosing private financial information, and either way, I don't think this respondent had permission to disclose those remarks, otherwise they would have said so. So I would make a motion that we do a letter of warning for 621340 sub 3, dealing with confidentiality, or maintaining confidentiality even past the transaction.
Which one?
That'd be number 40.
I second that.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor for number 40, for a letter of warning to maintain a confidentiality. We have a motion by Mr. Diaz, second by Mr. Ferris. Any other comments or?
Question.
Yes, sir?
Why did Dennis write the last sentence? If this is viewed as an ethical violation, then it should be addressed through a local realtors association. Is that just his opinion?
I think he's asking us, is this an ethical problem or is this a maintain confidentiality statute problem?
No, he says if it's an ethical violation.
I know,
which
that's
we're
why
saying
I'm-
that's not the case.
That's why I think he's asking us, what do we feel it is? Is it an ethical violation or is it a?
So what are we saying?
And I don't think that's a question for us. I think that's a question that has to be answered by the local association.
But you're saying
I'm
with the
saying-
letter of warning.
I'm saying that there's a statute that was violated because of confidentiality. That's what I'm saying, and not an ethical standard.
And that is statute.
So, hold on.
There are certain, if it's we do not have jurisdiction over ethical matters. And so typically, if we see something that is related to ethics or professionalism, we will dismiss them and state that it is reserved for the local association related level. And so that is why I think that Dennis stated that in his last sentence. However, Jeff is stating, I don't want to put words in his wife. Whoa.
And his wife, who's also an attorney.
Words in his mouth by stating it, however it may be ethical related, it is still a matter of confidentiality, which is covered in our statutes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and let me say this one thing to Stacy. The National Association of Realtors decided that ethical complaints, they wanted to have ethical complaints sent to real estate commissions, and in hopes that real estate commissions would do something about it too. But we've really taken the stance, that's not our, and the Attorney General agrees with us, that's not our place to do that. So that's just a little background on it. Who had a question?
I did.
Joan.
There were two issues there. It was also talking about the lender. It's talking about the lender in the second paragraph. So they were not happy with the lender, so supposedly they were sharing that information. But my next question is, we get emails all the time, and it'll say, back on the market due to financing, or
I know.
financing failed.
Yes.
So where are we going with that?
I guess
Well,
that's my
I mean,
question, is the
stating the-
confidentiality, like what was the breach of confidentiality there?
Well, I think.
Financial information.
Well, I think, saying that there was, the contract fell through because of failure to finance, I think there's an arm's distance there where you're not identifying the complainant. But since this was done in Realtor remarks, it seems like it was in the same office. It just seems like it was a breach of confidentiality because everybody's going to know who that potential purchaser was, and that their application for financing fell through. I just think that, to me, that's what makes it the breach of confidentiality.
Okay, so we have on the floor a letter of warning for maintaining confidentiality. Motion by Mr. Diaz, second by Mr. Ferris. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, that is unanimous, except Mr. Moffett is outside of the room. So we'll have him as one abstained. All right, number 44.
I had that one.
Okay.
All right, so council's, this is a represent. Council's new recommendation was to close and flag. Could you give us a reason as to what we're about to close and flag for? What are we looking for? Just anything?
Well, it says the charge was dismissed.
So the person had legal charges against them that were dismissed.
So,
And so the new recommendation is to close and flag.
right, but if there aren't pending charges, what are we waiting for? What are we flagging for?
Just in case they come back, we can at least look at it and say, well, wait a minute, this person did this before or something.
Yeah, I mean, charges is a step away from being convicted, though. I can see if they were convicted of something.
It was dismissed. They weren't convicted.
Right. So it's.
So
it's
you're
as if it-
suggesting this close?
Yeah, I would just say close.
Okay.
Yes.
But aren't they gonna appear in? It hadn't even been, we don't know that he's not gonna, the person's not gonna be found guilty or charged with something.
Well, it says it was dismissed, so our new information is that it was dismissed.
Oh, I see that, yeah.
So, yeah, my motion
that
would be
was
to
the
just
old
close.
information.
Okay, gotcha, yeah, I'm sorry, yep, I got.
All right, so we're just going to dismiss it, not close and flag. And I have a motion by Mr. Diaz, and I need a second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Quinn.
And the motion is to dismiss?
The motion is to dismiss on number 44. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously, except that Mr. Moffett is still out of the room. All right, 45.
I have 45.
Okay.
And the reason why I pulled this one is because I still struggle with the difference between equitable interest
Yes.
and owner of a property, and when those two labels apply when it comes to a contract for assignment. So does the fact that it's from the outset that it's a contract for assignment and not a purchase and sale agreement give I guess it would be the buyer, the latitude to assign the contract to somebody else that they wouldn't normally have in a PSA?
And didn't we recently get an opinion from the Attorney General's office on this subject?
And really, this is for edification, because I see in your new information, your consent order was not deliverable. So again, any discipline might be hard to impose, but.
See, those are the ones that make me mad, the runners and the hiders.
That could be a new class. How to find.
Yeah, how to find the runners and the hiders.
Don't be one.
Yeah.
You got that? New class. Runners and hiders.
Runners and hiders.
Some of us don't do that, and that's why it bothers us.
It could be taught by Marcia.
Taught by Mark.
Ross, here's your
I'll
new
prove her as
instructor.
an instructor right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that new instructor right here.
Anna, are you looking that up for us?
She's reading the
Okay.
narrative like.
I didn't mark which one we need to go back to.
23.
3, okay. Nope, I have close and flag on that one.
It's hinging on the fact of whether or not we.
Oh, yeah, 23, okay.
I mean, I'm sorry I'm being thick on this, but it's not clear to me.
The equitable interest
Mm-hmm.
part?
Well, the part of the ruling from the Court of Appeals that was cited was, or part of the statute that was cited, was talking about the listing sale
Okay, so you don't actually have a question about the new information.
lease information. No, to me, because I just want to be clear on what distinctions are being made. So the ability to assign,
Because we voted twice.
Okay, so you're asking about equitable interest.
well, I'm asking because the statute lists specifically a few things, the listing, sale, purchase, exchange, lease, or option to buy real estate. And I'm just wondering if being able to assign a contract is an option. Is that included in the definition of option, or is that a separate thing that has its own definition? Because words have meaning, I've been told.
I'll come back in November and talk about it.
All right. You want to defer?
Well, would you change the recommendation based on that? Like, would you make a motion differently based on?
I guess not. I guess that's more for an edification thing, so.
Do you want to close and flag?
No, I'll just go ahead and I'll make a motion to accept council's recommendation.
Okay.
I guess,
And you can
I
get a
mean,
follow-up
if
lesson
it's
from
going
him.
to, if it's going to, I think the real issue here is more so not being able to find, not being able to find the respondent instead of instead of the issue actually in hand, itself. And I think that's more so of the new information that Dennis had to provide. But if we wanted to go over the assignment issue and option again in November, we can do that.
That would be a good, we got a full docket.
It won't have to be long. Actually had one of my summer interns write a memo about it. And if I can
Did you proofread it?
That'd be
strongly
great.
encourage her to maybe possibly come talk to us
Be
about
a great
it.
opportunity for her.
She's just a little timid.
She'll get over
Maybe
it.
she could come and talk to us. If not, I will talk about it.
Okay.
About the subject. We can talk about that in November
Okay,
as just a brief refresher,
okay,
if that's okay with you.
that's great.
So, motion.
So we have a motion by Mr. Diaz, second by Ms. Torbett, to close only, not close and flag, correct? To close. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 49.
I think that may be me. Get there.
This is another
Yes.
represent.
Yes, that new commission decision, and I said, let's discuss and see where we are. Because it looks like
So
he's asking for our new decision.
Well, the new recommendation is voluntary surrender or downgrade their license pending outcome of criminal proceedings. Following conclusion of the criminal proceedings, respondents shall appear before the commission in an informal capacity for a licensure determination decision prior to reinstatement of their real estate broker license. So he's waiting on the criminal proceedings.
So, when we're waiting on that, do we flag them or we just wait? And that was kind of my question. Do we flag it or do we just
And what
wait?
happens to a license?
I mean, they're still out there selling real
That's
estate if they want to.
So,
my question.
Yeah.
and
Unless, they're requiring them, though, this recommendation says they have to voluntarily surrender or downgrade their license pending.
Volunteer.
All right, so, and this person is a broker, so do we want them to voluntarily surrender, or do we want to downgrade? That's two different
This
things.
is one about earnest money, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
so Caitlin, would you have the ability to know when this licensee would come before the commission to change their status to principal broker? And if they did, would you be able to stop it?
Is the question to just to require they no longer act as principal broker, or?
So I can answer. They are not a principal broker at the
Right.
moment. They're just a broker.
Right.
And so I my thought of either voluntarily surrendering their license or downgrading their license. Voluntary surrender their license would not having them practice, period. But downgrading their license would allow them to still have their license while they're still working, but be under the supervision of a broker. My thought with that is that they wouldn't be able to touch earnest money or trust money. But since, you have criminal proceedings that are taking place, the way the criminal process works, as we know, is you're innocent until proven guilty. And we don't want to take away someone's livelihood completely. And so my thought was to allow them the possibility to be able to keep working, to keep making money while this was still going on. Because I think, outright removal of their license might be too extreme at the point. So that was my thought process of that while it was going on. So I definitely think that the individual maintaining a broker license is something that does not need to happen.
And let me say this, because you said this person would not be touching any monies. That's not quite right, because as whether you're an affiliate or a broker, the money comes to you, then you give it to your principal broker. And this says the monies were not turned over to the realty firm either. So they received these funds but did not give them to their broker. So I don't trust them with taking anybody's money at all. I think a voluntary surrender is better than downgrading their license to an affiliate broker, because they're still going to be handling money.
So is the,
Surrender be immediate or pending the results?
Both of these would be options, offers. So both
So-
of these would just be until we received final dispositions from the criminal proceedings.
All right, let me ask you this.
And criminal proceedings could take years, though.
The respondent also
Right.
has an open 2019 complaint that is currently in litigation monitoring. The allegations in that complaint are similar to the ones in this complaint.
But it's not a criminal proceeding.
But it's similar. It's dealing with money, I bet, if it's similar.
So I guess what I'm hearing Anna say is, although it seems as if this person has done this,
they're allegations, they're not.
they're allegations. So do we,
For two allegations from different.
do we have, I know we have the authority, but
Our
But should-
oath is to protect the public, not protect an agent or a licensee.
Right.
I guess there's no way to say
So-
that they can keep working as long as they don't handle any money.
Okay, you're also
There's
saying.
no way to do real estate without touching the money,
You're
though.
also saying that you're asking the respondent to appear in an informal capacity.
Right. So
After the criminal proceedings.
Right, so if we surrender or downgrade, they'd have to come back to us afterward for the
Right.
disposition of their license.
So the choice, I think, at this point, do we want them to surrender or do we want them to downgrade? Now, I can tell you, if we ask them to surrender, they're probably going to say, no, I don't want to do that. So they're not going to agree to it. And so then what do we do?
if they don't surrender, then
Yeah.
we would go to a hearing.
Immediate, would it be like an emergency hearing?
No, it wouldn't be an emergency
Because we
hearing.
know about
So it could take months for that, and then we're still pending the criminal investigation.
Not necessarily. I don't think it would take months for that. I just think, it would take the normal process for a hearing. It would just be that, it would be a hearing and we would be up against saying we're wanting to take this person's license based on pending criminal charges. So.
Is there anything that prohibits someone, if they're under criminal investigation, from Selling real estate?
No.
Question. So Anna, are you saying then that your recommendation is a downgrade and the words voluntary surrender would be taken out of the letter?
It's either or.
So you write a letter to the licensee and it says, here
It
are
would
your
be a
options.
consent order.
A consent
So I
order.
would be sending a consent order, either asking the individual, offering them to downgrade their license to an affiliate broker, or sending them a consent order requesting that they voluntarily surrender their
But
license.
nobody would do that. Nobody would voluntarily surrender if they have another choice to downgrade their license.
Well,
Well,
until
I
you
mean,
ask them, you don't
the
know.
consent order will only have one option. It will only have one option.
Order will only have one.
Have one option.
Oh.
So it also says here that after the criminal proceedings are complete, the respondent then comes back in an informal capacity for a licensure determination decision
Yes.
So if
prior
we,
to reinstatement.
so if we downgrade them, they can come back to us and say that they were found not guilty, then they could have their broker license reinstated.
So typically, whenever, in my previous consent orders where I've had an individual that's had any kind of license that's been suspended or revoked for any period of time from this commission, and their license has been downgraded, it requires that they come back in an informal appearance capacity before the commission, and it would be very similar to the appearances that you had this morning.
Right.
And so at that time, you would have the option to ask them questions, what has happened in the interim, to make a determination at that time whether you would like them to have their real estate broker license, if you want their license to remain voluntarily surrendered, if you want their license to be an affiliate broker license, or if you do not want to reinstate their license. So it's to make a determination, as I said, a determination of what to do with their license at that time.
And
So-
going back to Anna's point of, what if this person's not guilty?
Correct.
What if they're not guilty? And we got to presume that they're not. I think I agree with her that if we make them voluntarily surrender, they're not going to do that, number one. They don't want to voluntarily surrender. But if we say, we are downgrading your license to an affiliate, still leaves the door open for them to make a living, but they've got to come back before us and get this all explained, and say the charges are dropped or they're found not guilty, it'd be an easy decision for us.
Right.
Now, if they go off to prison or something, then that's a different subject.
Right.
But so can we downgrade it while they're waiting for their hearing?
Yes.
Or the downgrade would be pending?
So the downgrade would take effect as soon as they would sign the consent order.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and suspension's not an option as well?
We could suspend their license,
But then they wouldn't be able to
again,
practice.
but again, they would not be practicing.
And if they
So,
don't sign the consent order, then we're just going to close and flag until the.
no, so again, if they don't sign the consent order, then the matter would go to a hearing.
Okay, and then they would have hearing and plus pending charges, and we would postpone that hearing until the charges are complete, right?
No, so the hearing would still take place.
Okay.
And this would be a hearing before you all, so, it would be before the commission, I would be, yes, it would be me. And the respondent, I would be very surprised if they're not represented by counsel, and an administrative law judge.
A full-fledged.
So the rules and statutes do have provisions in there about how earnest money is supposed to be handled by both the affiliates and the brokers, if memory serves.
Oh, yeah.
So we do have, our, managing escrow account 1260-02-.09, yes.
So in this consent order that you're gonna so artfully compose for us, could you remind them
I
of
mean,
their
it can be,
obligations?
I can put in a consent order, whatever details you would like me to put in the consent order.
Because I think, our expectation is that the principal broker for this licensee would be very close to this licensee as they conduct business over the course of this time period.
Do we know that this person still, are they still with their same company?
They are not with the company that, when they originally filed the complaint. Because originally when the complaint was filed, I believe they're a principal broker. They're not a principal broker at the moment. Now they're just a broker. And so they do have a principal broker that oversees them.
Do we have any authority to prevent a licensee from transferring their license to another broker?
No, what happens if the broker wants to leave?
I mean,
Or
you're
if
saying,
the
what if they
firm-
go to another broker and that broker doesn't even know anything about the criminal charges?
Yeah, but I was like, what happens if the broker wants to leave? I mean, you're tying the broker to someone.
yeah.
What if the firm closes? Like, there are a lot of different circumstances that are tied to that. So I would.
Know if this person is the owner of the company?
The company they're with? No, they're not.
Okay. So we're better off, I mean.
You want a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion.
All right. I move that we downgrade this licensee's license pending results of criminal charges.
Second.
All right.
Okay, hold on. So we're not downgrading it right now?
We are.
Yeah.
So it would be, it would be,
Downgrading it until the charges
So-
are addressed.
so
And
this-
They come back
basically
before us.
come Back to normal.
Yes.
Okay.
so I'll wrap it up and explain. So what I would, if this would be, the motion would be for me to offer the respondent a consent order for their license to be downgraded to an affiliate broker until the final disposition of their criminal proceedings. At the end of their pending criminal proceedings, the respondent shall appear before the commission in an informal appearance capacity and at that time, the commission shall make a determination of their licensure status.
So at that hearing, we could say, nope, found guilty, we revoke her. Or we could say, oh, she wasn't guilty, we'll give her back her broker's license at that hearing. And it would be like a hearing that we typically have each month, not a grand one with a judge, correct?
It would be, yes, it would be in that capacity at that time, yes.
So
The only thing you're changing from the recommendation is taking out the words voluntary surrender,
Right, so it was a or.
which was an option.
No, so I was, when I wrote it, it was going for me to be either to offer them to voluntarily surrender their license or for you to authorize a downgrade. It was never going to be for me to offer them both in one consent order.
Correct.
Yes,
It's one or the other.
correct.
So all we're doing is taking out one and making it a downgrade.
Yes.
Why? What harm would it do to leave it as it is?
I think it providing an option, one to the respondent that it's really not an option. If you give someone an option to downgrade their license or voluntarily surrender, they're not gonna. No one is really gonna voluntarily surrender their license. And also, it's a lot easier. It is not easy to write a document for an or.
I think she's asking, what do we want to do?
But I was writing it more so for the commission to make a decision for an or, to give you two options to consider.
But the way I'm reading, I like this recommendation exactly like it's written here. And my understanding is all we're doing is deleting the two words at the beginning.
Correct. The first three words.
And to me, it's, why do that? It's, you don't know that guy would, or the person would not voluntarily surrender until you asked them. And it's not hurting anything.
Was
But
it?
I don't, it's a minor issue.
And they might decide that when you tell them you're going to be downgraded.
Which is a better scenario. We're taking, in other words, the way I'm understanding it is, in the perfect world, we would want the voluntary surrender to happen but you're not wanting to do that because it would take their livelihood
Right.
away, which I understand,
Right.
and I agree with that.
I mean,
You just don't know until you ask them. It's not going to hurt anything to leave it like it is,
I
in
mean,
my view.
if you would like me to offer both to the respondent, it can be done, and then I can write a consent order for one of them.
Yeah, I think the recommendation, this is the way I'm reading it, the recommendation was put to us as we have an option to ask for a voluntary surrender or a downgrade, but not necessarily both in one document.
Correct.
Yes.
So
But
the
now we're
motion
changing it to just,
is to accept the option to downgrade and not accept the option for a voluntary surrender. That's the motion. So we're not composing the consent order here. Anna's going to do that later. We're deciding which one of these two options we're choosing. That's what's at issue, not
Correct.
not the verbiage of the consent order.
well, we're taking one of the options away.
Yes.
But what, I'm not understanding why you're thinking that somebody would choose that.
I'm not saying they're going to, but all I'm saying is it doesn't hurt.
It's not a better opportunity for them.
And we're not trying to make a better opportunity for them. All I'm saying is, until you ask somebody, you don't know what they're going to do. And if what we're thinking they're not going to do, which is the best scenario, they may wildly do, and it doesn't matter because if they take the other one, they're back to where we are anyway.
But they
But
have
the-
the option to voluntarily surrender, even when you give them.
No, they don't. No, they
not
don't.
Not in the motion.
No, they don't. Not in this motion is for downgrading to affiliate broker.
I think council in their recommendation is asking us to choose one. I mean, we don't have to, but I think she said earlier that it's hard to write a consent order for one and another option within the same document.
So if it's not necessary, why do we want to?
And my motion, the motion I made, is to present just one option to this licensee.
Yeah.
And that's for a downgrade. Now, you may not agree with it. You can vote the way you want, but
If it fails, if the vote fails, then you
But
can make
If
another
you look at
motion.
the way she has it, then you still have the option of, the person has the option of downgrading, if that's what we think they're gonna take. We're spending too much, I'm spending too much time on it. It's,
All right, can I call the question, and then if
Yes,
the
you may.
vote doesn't pass?
Yeah.
We can revisit?
We have a call of question. All right, so that means we're going to vote, and the vote is, the motion is to downgrade to affiliate only. Everybody understand the motion?
and it leaves all the rest of that.
Oh, yes, yes,
Rest of the.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. All right, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed?
No.
All right, raise your hand if you said no. I say, we got 3 no's. All right, that
4-3.
motion carries,
4-3.
4-3. All right, number 60.
That's yours.
It's me. All right, number 60. All right, so he had on here a letter of warning,
No, it's me.
and I wrote down to add a class to it. But now I don't even remember what the situation is here.
They
Just
didn't respond in a timely manner. They got an offer, and they said, well, I can't do that right now because I got plans.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't take your offer because I got plans.
I got plans.
Yeah,
sorry.
this was a very interesting one.
It
I
was
was
very interesting.
I was really interested to hear what you guys had to say about this because I was perplexed.
It's my kid's birthday.
The invitation and their response.
You know, I am happy to take a contract if I'm sitting at the beach.
I
On
do.
life. Yeah, let's get the deal done. Yes.
So I had written down,
I mean, if Stacy can be on a meeting till 7:30 at night on her birthday.
My own birthday. It wasn't even my child's birthday.
it's just lack of skill and care.
So the argument from the respondent was that they had explained to the other agent that they would not be available after a certain period of time because they were preparing for an event the next day, and then that something was sent after that time period, and then they did not check their phone after that time period. And so their client was not given the documents after it was sent. And so they were given the documents, I just don't know when. It just wasn't sent immediately. So the statute or the rule says promptly.
Oh, this is your case too, isn't it?
Yes, this is mine.
Yeah.
So it says promptly. So I don't know. I thought, since it didn't say immediately, promptly, and they knew what times and the communications, it was kind of iffy. But then since the respondent also kind of acted beyond the date that they said that the time that they were working, that maybe they worked beyond the deadline. I didn't know.
And I think at the end of your narrative, when it talks about the transaction closing on time.
Right. Everything ended up working out in the end. So I didn't know. I don't know about it.
Can anybody think of a class this person needs to take?
Well, I don't think you can assign class on a letter of warning.
It would have to. It would be a consent order. I just didn't know if.
Let's just send a letter of warning. And if somebody will make that motion so the chair does. A letter of a warning. All right, we have Mr. Moffitt has made a motion for a letter of warning.
Well, that's already the recommendation.
Yeah, okay. All right, so your motion is that we accept council's recommendation. Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, you got it from down there from DJ.
DJ, okay.
Really?
Huh?
I did not
Did
second
somebody
that.
second
Oh,
that
okay.
motion?
I heard a second. I'll second it.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to accept council's recommendation for a letter of warning, and Mr. Moffitt made the motion, and Mr. Diaz seconded the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I have the
And we have
contract.
we have one to go back to,
Just in time.
hot off the presses.
So there is a signature for the seller,
Just one, though.
just one.
Okay, is the seller, does it have LLC? Does it have any kind of,
I can't tell, it's just scribbles.
and do we know that there are two people that need to sign it?
What does it say at the top of the contract as far as sellers?
Yeah, who are the sellers? You don't have to say their name, but are there two names or is there an entity?
There are two names.
Okay, so two names needed to sign that contract. Do you all agree with that? Who had this number 23?
I did, and
Jeff.
Who is that?
See, that doesn't make sense to me.
I don't feel like that's. Who is that?
Jeff's motion on the table, that remained on the table, was a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to deal honestly with all parties. And that was seconded by Ms. Smith.
Who is that?
So do we need to have any more discussion about it? Are my attorneys trying to stop me from going forward with this motion?
Two names there. There's an entity and another, one name without,
Individual.
Individual.
I'm not sure.
It says, but the individual doesn't have a last name. It's just like one name.
Like share?
So it's like holding company and Bob.
Right. Yeah.
That is a screwy contract right there.
That's
And
why I'm
failure to
like,
do, honestly, it should be something else to go with that. I mean,
that's why I'm like, that's why I don't feel like,
contract scores. Would you like to amend your motion, Mr. Diaz?
I will amend my motion and say, in addition to the $1,000 penalty, to add a contracts course and have that be completed in 180
days.
180 days, and not have that count towards their continuing education.
Second, or we already have a second. You're just amending your motion.
I'm
Do I have to
Is
second
amending
an
it.
amended
And
motion?
Ms. Smith, do you agree with that amendment?
I agree.
Okay.
so is this for a violation of 404 or 403?
I cited 403 sub 4.
Ah,
The quoted
Failure
I
to
have
deal.
failure to deal honestly.
Okay.
Do we have where the respondent accepted earnest money?
Is there?
Because the complainant says here that they claim the respondent, hold on. The complainant says the last text message he received from the respondent was June 8th, saying his sellers were not in agreement to sell and to release the earnest money. Is the complainant saying that the respondent is saying that we are going to disperse the earnest money to the buyer because the seller is not selling?
I wouldn't deposit an earnest money without knowing
You had a balance.
the names are on the contracts. That's number one.
Right, and so the respondent, that's why I think the respondent didn't have a contract.
Is the listing agent.
Is the,
They're
right,
not the one writing the contract.
right. So,
the person it's a TR form, and it's not the respondent's form. Whose form is
Oh my gosh.
Is it the complainant? It's not the complainant's form.
it might
Did you
be.
say it was not a TA form?
It is.
It is.
But it's not the person who wrote the contract's form.
Oh,
It's like I gave you one of mine.
yeah,
Which is also against the rules.
which is a problem.
But that's not statute. That is just a
That's an
TR.
That's a
Form
TR
rule.
issue.
I've got a question of
Yes, sir.
process. It says, during this time, the complainant says the respondent did not change the status on the MLS to pending. What's the normal procedure for
Every MLS has a different one.
timing-wise? I mean, you're supposed to do it immediately or the next
Every
day,
MLS
or?
has a different one.
Each MLS has a different rules about it.
And the rule is all about timing, right? Like how long you have to do that. So we don't-
MLS may say do it in 3 days, one may say immediately, like one day. It just depends.
So do you think the complaint that this person filed says in the complaint it changed on day 5 and it should have changed
But
on
we don't
day
have
4?
We don't have jurisdiction over that.
It's
we don't.
it's the complainant's form.
It's the buyer's agent who should have, it should be on their form.
Do we have
They're the
a,
one writing the contract for their,
But it doesn't say on the, in the purchase and sale agreement, and
it almost looks to me like it's the complainant's, the buyer's agent who's at fault here, not.
I don't think it,
Listing
I
agent.
don't think this is, Are you sure this is the respondent's phone?
What did you say?
I'm just asking if you have a copy of this supposed complaint that the complainant filed with the local realtor organization.
Oh, about not changing it to pending.
As a part of this case, you wouldn't have gotten that document?
So the listing agent could have provided the form.
Just completing your file. File with them, I'd say,
When it's a
okay,
listing
say you filed
agent,
it,
buyers
give me a
and
copy of it.
complainants.
It's easy.
Why is it on there?
Well, either one could, listen, there are lazy people. And they'll say, look, you draw up the contract and I'll present it to my buyers. Which is, oh my
and by the way,
gosh,
let
they
me-
do
let me
that.
Use my form.
Yeah. So,
So here's a
Sounds like
question.
what's it a binding
Here,
contract
let me point this out, Anna, maybe, and ask your question. The respondent came back to the investigator or the commission in response to this complaint. They've provided a purchase and sale agreement form that shows 2 sellers as opposed to 1, and on page 1, line 4, whatever.
Right.
Are there 2 signatures on?
that's all that matters. Because otherwise it's not a contract.
That's, I mean, I can't jump to the conclusion that the respondent is having ill intent here any more than I can say that the complainant should have done a better job.
Correct.
It's actually both, I think, at fault here, really.
Yeah.
Could be.
I'm with Dennis on his recommendation.
So our motion on the floor is $1,000 penalty for failure to deal honestly with all parties and a contracts course.
Call the question.
All right, there you have it. There's the call for the question. So we're going to vote on it. Okay, did everybody understand what we're voting on? $1,000 penalty for failure to deal honestly with all parties and a contracts class. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wait.
This-
What?
And this is against the buyer's agent.
This
So
against
this would be
the,
against the listing agent.
The listing agent.
The listing agent is who we're.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do it again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
no.
Okay, that got one vote. Okay, after all of that. Now, so would anybody like to make another motion?
Oh, come on now. Come on. You can't vote no and not make a motion.
I move to accept council's recommendation to close.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Quinn. And that is to accept council's recommendation and close.
Well, I am inclined to agree with
No,
that.
no, you
It
voted. You
still
voted.
Stresses
No, you
me
voted.
out that there is a little bit of a loophole here in not accepting contracts.
I don't know that there's a loophole. The complainant needs to pursue the respondent, or the complainant's buyer needs to pursue the seller if they think they breached a contract.
So basically, the buyer's agent.
The buyer's agent is saying, hey, we thought we had a contract.
So the buyer's agent should have noticed that there were not 2 signatures.
Possibly.
I think the buyer's agents got.
Both
the ones that
agents
set
should
the egg
have.
on their face. They told their buyer they had a deal and
And
they
the
weren't able to perform, basically.
It's,
So anyway, that's my concern is it does seem to create a loophole if you've got 2 signatures and you think one validates the contract.
Would you like to make a substitute?
No,
motion?
I'm just verbally processing what I'm thinking.
She's regretting voting no.
no, it's just basic. Yeah.
Well, I
It
didn't
kinda
like- I didn't
stinks. This
like
one
the word-
stinks.
It does. and I
It
didn't
smells.
like
It
the-
smells awful.
Yeah, I didn't like the word
I
saying
agree.
that this was only a negotiating
can't believe.
stage. If you make an offer, seriously.
You do not sign a contract or let your people sign a contract as a way to negotiate. Now, if you want to get,
We are talking about governing the behavior of our licensees.
there's other documents for that. If you're wanting to, you tie it down while you do some due diligence. There's other documents you could use other than a purchase and
That it would be
sale.
easy for us to pass almost everything we decide to a court.
Well, that's true.
And the fact that we passed to exercise discipline on these licensees here is astonishing to me. But
I
y'all
guess
voted.
my
so.
thing though with it's hard to say, like, to DJ's point, who is actually at fault here? So if you get $1,000 penalty to the listing agent who sent everything over,
We can
as
open one
is.
against the buyer's agent too.
Right. So I'm just saying. Right.
Oh.
Well, that's what it's just.
We don't open complaints against
It
complaining.
seems messy and crazy, but I just
Only
don't
in our
know
dreams,
what else
right.
we can do about it.
That would,
Done something about it, but y'all voted no. So
No, we voted no on what you suggested.
we have a motion to accept council's recommendation, which is nothing. So we'll see how that goes.
Question.
Okay, we have a call for the question. Okay. The motion by Mr. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Gwynn is to accept council's recommendation to close. And I would like, can we have a voice
Vote? Okay.
please?
A roll call?
A roll call.
Commissioner Jeff Diaz,
No.
Commissioner DJ Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Steve Gwynn,
Yes.
Commissioner John Moffett,
Yes.
Commissioner Joan Smith,
I don't want to vote.
it's not an option.
I'm going to say no.
Commissioner Stacy Torbett,
No.
Chair Marcia Franks.
No.
Fails.
All right, so that failed.
All right, can I make a motion for a letter of warning? And we can't do a class if there's no fine, right?
You can't do a class unless it's a consent order.
All right, the letter of warning then.
Okay,
I don't know what I'm warning them for.
You can copy off of me if you want.
Okay.
6213
Okay.
4034.
okay.
Okay, a letter of warning for failure to deal honestly with all parties.
Okay,
Second.
okay, Mr. Moffett. Okay, y'all are sick of this, aren't you?
Let's get this last one
Okay,
done.
all right. All right, so we have a proper motion on the floor for a letter of warning, made by Ms. Torbett and second by Mr. Moffett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Oh.
Oh. How many is that?
Roll
3
call.
and 3.
Well, roll call.
I vote yes.
Yeah.
I vote yes.
So
That
4
breaks
and
the
3.
tie.
Who were the no's?
Raise your hand if you were a no.
I'm a yes.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, 3 no's.
Okay. Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
It's a tricky one.
People do the darndest things, don't they?
To make our
Okay, all right, so, hey.
I wasn't tricky at all. The whole deal is tricky, but
All right, I've lost my agenda now. Here we go.
The third no, Ferris, Gwynn, and
All
Okay.
for your help and for scaring off Jeff for his very first meeting.
Glad to have Jeff with
And
us.
for reinstating Matlock, and Matlock.
Now,
I'm going to just be alone forever.
Bubba, he can handle us.
now you can see why you need some help. There's so many convoluted cases that come before us that it's just, and we want to make good decisions, and we need your help in us making those. Okay, is there anything else?
I was just going to call one last time if Kelly Turner, the informal appearance, is present or would like to appear before the commission. Last chance. Okay.
Last call.
The door is shut.
Very
Okay.
good.
All right, so,
So, I'm sorry, Caitlin, what would happen with that? She get a chance to reappear next month, or?
Yes, yeah. I just wanted to make sure we had a reason to believe she might have been on the call, but
okay. Mr. Ferris, anything last?
Great to see everybody.
So glad y'all didn't come.
Everybody travel safe.
Moffett?
Just hope it doesn't rain on the street.
If it is, you might all stay the night. Commissioner Smith,
No, thank you for coming. I want to say to those that are here, thank you for coming.
and be sure to sign out.
Please.
Ms. Torbett,
Got something.
okay. If there's any Alabama fans in the room, I'm sorry.
It is the Tennessee
Okay,
Real
that's-
Estate
I'm
Commission.
sorry, not sorry.
All right, Mr. Diaz, any last thing from you? Don't leave mad. See, here's
I'm
the
not mad.
thing.
I'm not
We
mad.
can disagree on so many things, and as you can see, we do. And, but as Mr. Grease would say, we all leave here as friends. And it's great that there's different minds coming from different points of views in different places in this great state to make these decisions. So everybody be safe going home. See everybody in Nashville in November. Thank you all. Everybody be safe.